Part 225. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2247. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe. No, she should have been protected by someone, not that Mr. Fox, but the mysterious strong man who picked up the plane at the airport a few days ago. Damn. Could this be the secret guard arranged by the master's family? It's so scary that he was able to bring the little princess out from the enemy's encirclement. When Jia Yan descended and everyone saw the little devil on his back, there were about 1,000 soldiers below, and everyone looked at him in surprise. Hurry up and break through these defenses for me. We have to fight back and kill them all. The little devil jumped off Jia Yan's back and immediately pointed angrily at the city, telling the army to move out. Yes. Seeing that Her Royal Highness the little princess was angry, the commander of this army, a military expert at the peak of the middle-level galaxy, quickly nodded without daring to disobey. It's those 30 or so strong men who are blocking you, right? Look at me. Jia Yan thought about it and felt that since he had already taken action, what if he had a little more limelight? It just made the master's family feel that they owed him even more. As a result, his entire body was surrounded by more than a dozen explosives, heading towards the area that created chaos in the strong men's army, that is, dozens of strong men who surrounded the army to obstruct it and did not fight directly with the army. Fly away. Not long after. Boom boom boom. A series of explosions sounded one after another. After a while, dozens of figures fled in panic, rising into the sky amid the sound of explosions and fire, and fled in panic without looking back. Okay, the army can move forward normally. The blocked army immediately resumed its normal march. It's just that all the biological soldiers couldn't help but look up when they were setting off, and looked at the giant mosquitoes that slowly flew to the center of their army and slowly descended in the sky. Powerful, yet mysterious. Especially the explosion, I don't know if it was his physical strength or some unique explosive. No one knows how he accomplished such a thing, nor does he know what level of combat power he has reached. It clearly feels like he is only as strong as the peak of the mid-level galaxy, but he is close to that of a territory lord. Of course, there is still a huge gap between him and a real territory lord. After all, if he is really a territory lord, unless he is the weakest non-combat type territory lord, none of the enemies present will be able to escape. So they regarded Jia Yan as the strongest mid-level combat type galaxy. Jia Yan, you are really amazing. When Jia Yan fell to the ground, the little devil princess stared at Jia Yan, curious about his strength. It's just so-so. Jia Yan didn't explain that much, let alone that he relied on positive and negative explosives. Anyway, it was more mysterious, and besides, positive and negative explosives were one of his special skills. He was thinking that this was because his subspace talent was difficult to use. If he didn't use his subspace talent in combat, he would have no soul. If the subspace talent is used, coupled with positive and negative explosives, this will be Jia Yan's true fighting posture. He was a little arrogant, thinking that he really had the strength of a fighting mid-level peak creature in the galaxy. Well, I can't be arrogant. If I really get close to a fighting creature at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, or be attacked by him at close range, I will probably die. Being arrogant often means you will be unlucky. You can't be arrogant anymore. Jia Yan kept telling himself. Along the way, what follows is a bit mundane. The enemy army didn't even stop their primary target, the little devil princess. As for those who stopped them, they also included the Fox Territory Lord. Do they still want to kill the Fox Territory Lord? This is absolutely impossible. Only the Territory Lord can deal with it. The creature that blocks the Fox Territory Lord is considered good if it is not killed by the Fox Territory Lord. Therefore, the enemy troops immediately warned each other through the communicator and quickly withdrew. As a result, the entire battlefield turned into a scene where the little devil led several troops and began to hunt down the retreating enemy troops. "If you dare to sneak attack on me, you will die." The little devil followed the army and fought back all the way. When he saw people, he rushed over to kill them. He was so excited that he didn't look like a little Lolita, but a real little devil. Jia Yan followed her closely, and there was no one else around her except Jia Yan. It is estimated that the other soldiers think that Jia Yan alone is enough. It will be useless no matter how many domain masters come, so they might as well let Jia Yan come alone and they can take the credit. There is no safer military honor than beating a drowned dog. Poof! The little devil princess smashed a centipede-like creature into flesh with one fist. "Jia Yan, why don't you come up? I don't need your protection. You know my strength." Scylla was happy. She looked like she was not afraid of the battlefield, but had probably experienced it many times. I'm afraid she wasn't that afraid when she fled with Jia Yan just now. She just wanted to come out to find the army and use their overwhelming advantage to push back together. The people of the master family are born to fight. Even if they control such a large territory, it is said that they do not live a too luxurious life. From Jia Yan's point of view, the little devil is probably the kind of creature that has been trained to love fighting. No wonder, among the countless forces and races in such a large territory, no one wants to rise up against the rule of the master's family, because the people of this family are like a person who protects their peaceful life without depriving them of their rights. Best guardian. Jia Yan shook his head. I am a peace-loving person. I won't do anything if I can. My mission is just to protect you. Jia Yan said against his will. In fact, if you give him enough strength, I'm afraid he can rush faster than anyone else, but now. There is no other way, until the real strength improves, I can only live in obscurity. Hey, it's up to me. The little devil didn't blame Jia Yan, but showed disdain on his face, and then continued to punch the wind and rush towards the next opponent fiercely. She looked like this was her favorite game to play, exciting and fun. In this way, it didn't take long for the raid team of a few hundred people to be driven out of the ice and snow city of Nyeda. A city with a population of hundreds of millions was devastated because of just a few hundred people. Countless people suffered heavy casualties either due to enemy attacks or following rioting creatures. Fortunately, even so, the creatures are still rejoicing that the war is over. It's just one night, and not many creatures will die. On the North Star, there are not many places where you can live a peaceful life. In those chaotic areas where wars have been fought for years, every household is threatened by death every day. Compared with those creatures, the people in Ice and Snow City are happy enough. Although they don't produce much, they have enjoyed peace for hundreds of years, so what else is there to be dissatisfied about? Besides, after today's battle, the master family will definitely pay attention to the defense of this area and send more troops to support, or send more strong men, so that they will still have peace of mind. Long live the little princess, the great master. Long live. There were such cheers all over the city. Everyone seemed to have forgotten the number of casualties and was filled with joy. Indeed, compared to the huge population, the hundreds or thousands of people killed and injured are nothing. People throughout the city are looking forward to returning to their original lives. He, they all call me Long Live, Jia Yan, do you think I'm great? Awesome. The little devil deliberately flew in the sky. When the many creatures and residents below saw her, they cheered one after another, making her blush on her cheeks. Jia Yan was helpless. He didn't want to show his face like this, but he had already said that his mission was to protect this arrogant little princess. He couldn't break his promise, so he had to stay by her side. In conjunction with this, Jia Yan's name has been appearing in many public topics. More and more people have spread rumors about his miraculous strength. The explosive has also become Jia Yan's brainwave power. Such a terrifying brainwave power has explosive power. has almost reached the domain master level, making countless people sigh that the master family is the master family, and there is such a fighting creature hidden in it. No one knew about it before. As a result, Jia Yan had no choice but to bear the mark of the master's family on his body. In fact, Jia Yan is already thinking about whether to truly join the master family in some form or cooperate with them. However, this idea is still not certain, because Jia Yan himself does not like restraint, otherwise he would not have talked about an equal relationship when he joined forces with the Zerg Queen. You know, the strength comparison between him and the Zerg Queen at that time was even worse than his current strength compared to the Territory Lord. We didn't compromise then, now we're going to compromise. Jia Yan doesn't want to be someone who bows to the pressure of life. What are you thinking about? Jia Yan, just now Teacher Fox asked us if we wanted to go over and join him. Almost all the enemies have been withdrawn. The little devil suddenly jumped onto Jia Yan's wings with a snap, and sat steadily and familiarly, as if he was extremely skilled. Jia Yan had some thoughts of driving her away. Damn it, if you continue like this, you will be treated as a mount. Alas, that's it, just think of it as a temporary surrender to life, and then make sure you don't let her jump on your back again without your permission. Go ahead. Jia Yan nodded, then spread his wings and flew towards the place displayed on the brain screen that the little devil picked up. Not long after, in a corner of the city that had long been devoid of any enemy shadow, Jia Yan saw the fox creature waiting in mid-air. This is a domain lord. Even though Jia Yan was ambitious and believed that he could be promoted to the level of domain lord, he still respected such masters from the bottom of his heart and took the initiative to say hello when he saw them. I've met Senior. Well, Jia Yan, you did a good job. The fox creature looked at Jia Yan, and the look in his eyes was no longer so strange. Instead, because of the two incidents, he fully recognized Jia Yan, thinking that he was someone who could get close to his master's family, and could even absorb the master within the family. In fact, he was a little surprised by Jia Yan's strength. After all, a creature that he thought was not even a combat type when he started in the woods has become more powerful again and again. This is also a kind of blow to him, a domain master who has made wrong judgments. Fortunately, Jia Yan is on the side of himself and others. Maybe you can ask about the origin of the previous explosive method. If it can be used by the master family, then their master family will have certain advantages. Hello, Master Fox. Jia Yan and I have another big adventure. It's so fun. The little devil covered in blood yelled. You little guy, don't scream like that. We are all the princess's people, and you are still acting like a child. The residents below will be disappointed. The fox creature glared at her angrily, and was immediately frightened to the point that the little princess did not dare to scream. She also timidly looked at the houses below. It seemed that she was really seen by several residents. She quickly pretended to be a lady. Not far from the fox creature, there were dozens of strong men who were searching for enemy troops, all of them were above the galaxy level. Jia Yan accompanied him and the little devil and waited here for a while. These strong men returned one by one to found nothing. It's normal. After all, if the attack fails, the only option is to escape. In fact, even if they succeed, the best result for them is to kill the little devil princess, and then they have to escape. After all, the combat effectiveness of the two sides is still not proportional. When several corps stationed around the city come over, they will not be able to escape even if they want to. Walk. It's a pity that their first task was not completed. The little devil princess was alive and kicking without even being injured. What made the enemy even more depressed was that they believed that there were only as many strong men in the city as they could gather from the intelligence. Even Jia Yan, who was suspected to be a combat type, they sent a small team to kill or hold back. Unexpectedly, it was the little-known Jia Yan who ruined their chances of success. Jia Yan almost single-handedly led the Master Sela out of the battle group, and then used the power of lightning to liberate the army that surrounded the city closest to the city, and penetrated all the way into the city. The enemy troops that were destroyed in the Ice and Snow City were all beaten to pieces, so their results were not that great. For a time, whether it was on the side of Ice and Snow City or on the enemy's side, there were more stories about Jia Yan and legends about his strength than ever before. Because of this battle, Jia Yan, who had been struggling in the North Star for a long time, instantly became famous for the first time and became a well-known character in the area. It can be said that it went against Jia Yan's original thoughts. This principle of wanting to be known by others after becoming stronger gave him a headache. That night, Jia Yan, who had become a key figure, was asked to live in a military camp, and he was the one to take care of an army. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2248. As a consultant, Jia Yan does not need to lead the army. He only needs to act as a high-end combatant when the army is fighting. Well, if you're famous, just be famous. There's nothing you can do about it. Those guys came to attack me, otherwise I would have escaped as far away as possible. Jia Yan was in his luxurious room, looking like he wanted to cry. God's mercy, he didn't want to be in the limelight. If the 5-man team hadn't come to the door, why would he have joined the battle group? If he had known that so many positive and negative explosives would be wasted, he would have thrown a few on the heads of the 5-man team, killed them, and then escaped. But Jia Yan didn't know at that time how powerful his ice and snow explosives were. If he couldn't be killed by the explosion, he would be the one who died. So thinking about it this way, everything can only be blamed on a combination of circumstances. Of course, through this battle, I have a better understanding of the combat power levels within the North Star. I have also fought against some high-end strongmen and seen their moves. It is like fighting against those strongmen in outer space. They resisted not showing me their moves, but in the North Star, these strongmen showed their power as soon as they made a move. To me, it was like giving me a benefit, allowing me to get a lot of information. This is also useful. Good things. Besides, after I used the ice and snow explosive stone, my strength was really impressive. The power, tisk tisk, even I was a little scared when I saw it. Thinking of this, Jia Yan was more sure of his own strength. This is what he gained after coming to Beostar. From the beginning, he might not even be able to defeat an ordinary master of the same level. He traveled along the way, and then increased his knowledge and combined with the experience of other strong men. Ability to enhance his knowledge and combat effectiveness. Unknowingly, Jia Yan actually received many enhancements in the North Star. Ever since, he has become stronger now. Although his strength is mainly in the selection of energy stones and his understanding of combat, and the essence of his brainwave power has not been too enhanced, these are real improvements in combat. Lord Jia Yan, there is nothing going on around today. Okay, please step back. Yes. A soldier with the reconnaissance team returned from a reconnaissance mission and responded to Jia Yan with the information he had obtained. Jia Yan nodded, not surprised. It's strange to have an accident. It's only been a few days. They just repelled an enemy attack and beat them to a pulp. Many fighting-type mid-level peak warriors from the galaxy died. How could they dare to attack again right away? If they go by what the little devil princess said, they should take advantage of their victory and counter-attack the enemy. Fortunately, other subordinates, including Jia Yan, comforted her, and the little devil princess gave up the idea of taking the initiative to attack. Here is also an immature army and strong manpower, and the counter-attack is useless. Although Jia Yan was different from what others thought, he didn't want to participate in the war at all. He just waited for more powerful people or large armies to come, and then he retreated behind the scenes and did nothing at all, or even left the battlefield. Because the battlefield in the North Star is the thing that scares other strong men the most in the outside world. When everyone talks about these things, the corners of their mouths tremble with fear. Jia Yan doesn't think that he can't get involved in the battlefield of boxing at all, because this is the way for a strong man to progress faster, but he doesn't think that he can get involved in the battlefield prematurely now. He felt that he was not strong enough. He had been lucky in the past. No fighting mid-level peak warrior from the galaxy had sneaked up on him, or they had taken advantage of the opportunity to join forces to attack an unprepared part of his body. Otherwise, he might have been hit. Just die. Even the Azure defense will not have much effect, because at this level, before his Azure defense has made new progress, it is at most the same as an ordinary combat-type mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy, with strong attack power. The existence of one point will definitely be shattered with one blow, and then his prototype will be revealed. The lack of brainwave power and the lack of understanding of the powerful North Star's fighting mode will become the biggest factors restricting his life and death. It's best not to fight, or even let me go. Of course, if I strongly demand to resign now, I'm afraid the little devil will agree, and even the senior fox creature will agree. But the problem is, after I leave, the great achievements of helping them fight will definitely be reduced, so I feel a little reluctant to give up, alas. Jia Yan was conflicted. He didn't want to go to the front line, but he was greedy for the achievements he had worked so hard to achieve. The last time he helped the little princess and the others deal with the assassinating enemies, he got a lot of gains. This time, he almost saved the little princess to safety in the midst of thousands of troops. Moreover, he also showed his bravery and fighting ability. He must have mastered it. If the family members are discerning, they will reward themselves generously. Jia Yan was greedy for this, so he stayed. Desire, hope makes people corrupt. Jia Yan looked at the towering sky of Biostar with some desolation, feeling that he had changed. After being stunned for a while, he returned to the military camp. Naturally, he had some plans about commanding a military camp. He couldn't fight for the time being. After a while, when other strong men from the master's family or strong military men from nearby areas arrived, he could leave in good faith. I have something to do with myself. That way there is actually not much risk, and you can still gain fame. In fact, Jia Yan may not have expected that his fame would be like a small storm sweeping many places after this battle. Don't forget, in this master's land, there is a network. At least in most areas, the network is relatively developed, so the battle that was originally limited to such a small area spread all over the place very quickly. The entire land of the master's power. You know, this is an area of nearly 100 million kilometers. Excuse me. Recently, there has been another turmoil in the ice and snow area of my controller's power. The ice and snow area that has been peaceful for a long time has ushered in a wave of hostile forces. The ice and snow city is devastated. Even the controller, Princess Sila, who has just arrived at the front line, is also surrounded by enemy troops and is in danger. However, within the power I control, there are always talented people. When the little princess was in danger, a great hero stepped forward. He is the loyal and courageous man named Jia Yan. Master Jia Yan was so courageous that he entered and exited the enemy force 7 times, and finally managed to reach the little princess's side, saving the little princess from danger. He also showed an astonishing fighting power in this battle. We killed the enemy until their livers and gallbladders were broken, and they no longer dared to think of invading. This is not a big border battle for the entire master force, but it is full of topicality because of the addition of the youngest child of the master family, Master Sila. The appearance of the unfamiliar name Jia Yan was accompanied by his loyal and courageous behavior, making the matter become big news in an instant. Of course, the further the distance is, the more the territory has nothing to do with the little princess, the more insipid the reaction to this matter will be. After all, Within the entire master family, there are not even 100 but also 50 or 60 people who can be called direct descendants. There is no way, whoever allows the master to live long, even if he doesn't have to give birth, he will still have a lot of children. It's just that this matter is still topical, especially when it is added to the effect of adding fuel and vinegar. It becomes a plot of a knight saving the princess. Many people who do not know the specific situation imagine Jia Yan as a very handsome creature, and that the little princess is imagined as an adult girl. The two parties have a childish and inappropriate relationship, and then the knight tries his best for his lover. Even if he is scarred, he still has to run towards his beloved little princess. In the end, it is a completely happy ending. The little princess threw herself into the knight's arms with tears in her eyes. Well, if Jia Yan sees these reports, he may lose control of his energy on the spot and explode all the treasures hidden in the subspace. Fortunately, he didn't see it. Even if he did in the future, his control would probably be much stronger than now and he wouldn't blow up all his treasures. But surprisingly, this incident has benefited a few people that Jia Yan did not expect. That is the Xiao family. This family lives in Gongjuling, thousands of miles away from where Jia Yan is now. But Princess Ridge is the territory of the little devil princess. All the senior officials in Princess Ridge are always paying attention to her every move and safety. When the news came out that Jia Yan had rescued the little princess, there was an uproar in Princess Ridge. And the groups, forces, companies, etc. that had some relationship with Jia Yan were even more shocked. They understood why those who controlled the power in the past valued Jia Yan so much, because he was so awesome. A fighting-type mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy. That is a terrifying existence second only to the Territory Lord. At least among the dozens of mid-level powerhouses in the galaxy, there may not be a single combat-type powerhouse. Ever since, the Xiao family who was entrusted to be taken care of by Jia Yan must be very close to Jia Yan. Therefore, this family was only cared for a little bit, but in the past few days, they suddenly received a lot of money. Concern. Ha ha ha, Mr. Fish Dad, I know you have been looking for a job for a while, but there is no good one. Take a look, I will introduce you to one that feels good. No need to thank me, I just forgot what Your Excellency Jia Yan told me. I hope you can help me put in a few kind words for Your Excellency Jia Yan in the future, ha ha ha. After hanging up the communication, the father of the little fish creature, also known as Fish Dad, was completely stunned. He knew that Jia Yan was very powerful and a galaxy-level strongman, but he didn't know how strong Jia Yan was. I asked my daughter to become a disciple of this powerful man earlier because he was a galaxy-level person. This was enough. After all, although there are many galaxy-level people in the North Superstar, when divided among a large number of ordinary creatures, the number of galaxy-level people is actually not that many, even the ratio is millions to one. Being able to become a disciple of a galaxy-level, even the most ordinary junior galaxy-level master, is a step to the sky. But what they never expected was that Master Jia Yan seemed to far exceed their family's imagination. It was okay to be valued by various forces in the city before, but now, these forces were like cats that smelled a fishy smell and came to get close to him. Even the work problem has been solved. You must know that although there were people taking care of their family and introducing a job to the Fish Dad, it was just an ordinary job, barely supporting the family. But now, when I look at it, the person who introduced the job to me was actually a galaxy-level person, and what he gave me was a job that was extremely leisurely, and he could work or not. This can be said to be giving money. Xiao, you must practice the secrets your master gave you. I'm afraid our family's prosperity depends on you. Yeah. Xiao Julian, rely on Xiao. Xiao spoke a little more eloquently, but not that eloquently. It's just that in the past 6 months or so, she has made great progress. Every day when she spits out positive and negative power bubbles, they explode and the neighbors come to complain. But facing the Backstage U family, the neighbors had no choice but to hire a decoration company to raise the sound insulation level by 1 level. Puff. Bang. The room was once again exploded by positive and negative forces. The explosion was so loud that even U-Dad and his wife almost lost their souls. Wow, ha ha ha, the little fish is so annoying. The little fish applauded himself and then somersaulted in the air. Seeing his daughter enjoying herself, the fish dad and the fish mom left the room and let their daughter mess around on her own. It seems that our little fish has found a big backer. I hope that Mr. Jia Yan can come soon and pick up my daughter. Maybe in 50 years, he will give us a daughter of a great master. Well, our race will not live well in the sea. If a powerful person is born, I am afraid that wandering fish traders like us can and return to our hometown to live a good life. Both couples are looking forward to their daughter's growth. Puff. Jia Yan, who was far away in the land of ice and snow, was unaware of the family's changes and mood. He was just practicing his own practice. Jia Yan was seen waving one of his front legs, and then seemed to cut through the space, opening a large hole in the subspace in one breath. Very good. Now that I have cooperated with the public procedure, my speed of cutting through subspace has reached nearly 0.3 seconds. This is definitely a big improvement. Jia Yan was extremely pleased. Although the speed of 0.3 seconds is still far behind the speed at which he can open the subspace without any delay compared to the speed when he opens the subspace in the normal starry sky, but for Jia Yan, during the battle, he used the last space to open and escape. It can be done. In other words, compared to the past when it was almost useless, today's subspace talent has the ability to save lives. If I were to open the subspace by myself without exposing the program, it would still take 0.8 seconds, which is a difference of 0.5 seconds. Don't underestimate this gap. In a real battle, a difference of 0.5 seconds would mean death. It can be said that the difference is as big as heaven and earth. Jia Yan once again used up all the publicity opportunities for 100 times, and then sighed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2249. Master, Jia Yan. I saw the programs used by people nearby. Are you actually using this public program? Jia Yan was still practicing when suddenly an rude soldier broke in from outside the military camp office with a strange look on his face. This was the soldier who sent the signal to Jia Yan. He was holding the brain in his hand and looked surprised. Oh, you said the program is open to the public? Yes, I have cooperated with them, and I am currently observing the program. Jia Yan looked at the program he demonstrated. It was a public program. The public program is like this. A public channel is deliberately opened. If there are smart brain users around who want to use the check what people nearby are playing function that comes with the smart brain, they will see the public program. Jia Yan thought about it for a while, and without getting angry, he directly told him that he was using public procedures. Because he had an idea and thought that this public program has supported him in so many things. In the future, he will have to rely on the public program to continue to improve his combat effectiveness in subspace. Now he might as well do what he should do. Anyway, what follows the trend will be don't waste his time. It turns out that adults are using this program. Let me study it. Sir, since you are helping them cooperate, can I help you promote it in private? Sure. The soldier who received Jia Yan's approval immediately left happily. Jia Yan didn't take it seriously and continued to practice. But what he didn't expect was that he underestimated his current fame. As soon as they heard that there was such a fun thing as a public program, and that Master Jia Yan was still using it, Many soldiers privately used their own brains to install this so-called public program. Then, everyone also discovered that the public program is very easy to use. Some soldiers uploaded their own information and were assessed for a fee. Although the nearest city to the public program was too far away, the energy of the past assessment was channeled through the subspace channel. It will take a long time before the rewards come, but it is still a very novel experience. Then they were even more surprised to see that they could make money using this program. The more powerful a person is, the more they earn. Of course, if you want to see other people's information, you also need to pay. After all, there are only a few people who pay, and they don't earn much, but it makes people see this possibility. If this program is transmitted to Ice and Snow City, when the company negotiates business with powerful people, it no longer has to guess their strength. One look at the public program will tell whether it is worth trading. There is still a huge market. Yes, but there must be some people who don't want to use it. In that case, just use the old method. It's a very promising program. Let's play with it and tell others about it. Yes, it can be considered as a little help for Mr. Jiayan. The disclosure process is far away in the base camp of the Land of Peace. During this period, Jiayan's strategy can be said to have changed from expectations at the beginning to gradually losing patience, especially as he went further and further away and wanted to maintain his network. As more and more resources were required to handle the matter, some people in the public process began to feel impatient. But just when they were about to stop protecting Jiayan, they suddenly heard that Jiayan was in the Land of Ice and Snow City, saving the most powerful force in the entire Land of Masters and the nominal manager of the Master. Princess News. At this moment, the senior officials who had been supporting Jiayan during the public process and protecting him suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. With Jiayan's performance, no one will say that resources are wasted anymore. But if they want to use Jiayan's reputation to further promote open procedures, they have to ask Jiayan if he is willing for them to use Jiayan's reputation. Of course, even if Jiayan is unwilling, presumably as long as it is rumored that Jiayan is cooperating with them at some level, their public program group will surely rise. Now, the faction supporting Jiayan got a chance to feel proud. However, the argument against Jiayan was not that strong before, because he did not require too many resources. While all the people within the open procedure group were still racking their brains, thinking about how to use Jiayan's current fame to start business, they soon discovered that there were actually a large number of people in the ice and snow area, starting to use their public program. What's going on? Could it be that Mr. Jiayan, who has always been uninterested in promoting our program, has begun to care about promoting our program? Very good. Your Excellency, Jiayan is really not the kind of person who forgets his friends. He didn't promote it in the past, just because he was always in the car. Haha, since Mr. Jiayan is willing to promote it, let's call him and ask him if he would like us to promote the program in his name. I'm sure this gentleman will not refuse. A fighting powerhouse at the top of the middle-level galaxy. I saw him last time and talked to him. I didn't expect him to be such a terrifying powerhouse. If he is successfully promoted to the Domain Lord level, he is not the least powerful person among the territory lords, he is very powerful. Jiayan received a call from the public program inexplicably and thanked him, which made Jiayan a little confused. Of course, he reacted quickly. In a few words, he figured it out. He had casually agreed to the soldier and asked him to help promote it, and he actually promoted the public process. Didn't expect it to be so fast. It is impossible for me to personally represent you, but you can say that I am also using public procedures. Jiayan flatly rejected the endorsement plan, because he knew that he was already associated with the master family, and if he engaged in such endorsements again, it would be too cheap. Moreover, even if you just use your own name to do things, I am afraid that this public process will bring a lot of benefits. Okay, that's it for now. Jia Yan hung up the communication and then smiled bitterly. The open procedure group, which had been looking up to them from above, has now become a target that begs for cooperation with them, and I don't know if I have really jumped over the dragon's door. In short, Jia Yan felt that his first step was a success. After that, continue to make yourself more famous. Wrong, wrong, wrong. He didn't want to continue participating in the war, because he knew that with his strength, there was still a lot of risk. Instead, he is going to use his current fame to ask for some information support from the people in the master's family. It would be best if he has some famous teacher to give him some guidance. That's what Jia Yan thought, and even did it. Jia Yan, aren't you going to the front line with me? That's right, I'm not going. Your Majesty, you may not have seen how well I fought last time. In fact, I had already consumed a lot of explosives. These were created by my exclusive brainwave power. I'm going to hide for a while and continue to produce some, so that you can help the front line. Jia Yan said this when he met the little devil princess again. And by the way, he also explained the ins and outs of his ice and snow or explosives. This is also a top priority. People in the master family must have been working on the news that he can kill the mid-level peak combat powerhouse in the galaxy with one blow. If he wants Jia Yan to hand it over, I'm afraid Jia Yan it's not easy to deal with, and you might fall out. Now I was just using it to explain the situation. I was not going to follow the army and fight on the front line 2,000 kilometers away from Ice and Snow City. I also blamed the reason on the fact that explosives require my own unique brainwave power to make, so it is difficult to make such things. In this way, it can be said that he kills two birds with one stone. He refuses to go to the front line and proves that his explosives are exclusive. Ah, that's it? It's okay if you don't go. I was planning to collect a certain amount of explosives, but I didn't expect them to be exclusive to you. How many pieces are left now? Can other strong men use them? It won't work. Otherwise, you can let Senior Fox try it. Jia Yan knew that it would not work if he did not explain clearly, so he took out an explosive stone made of ice and snow minerals in front of everyone. Your brainwave power will explode upon contact, but at that moment, you will also feel the uniqueness of my brainwave power, and at the same time you will understand why I said that others can't use it. Jia Yan is actually able to give others positive and negative power explosives, because he has given them to his apprentices before. But he doesn't want to do this again, not to mention wasting his strength, but also being targeted by these forces that are far more powerful than him. It will be impossible to guard against him, and he will even be arrested by someone who specializes in manufacturing this explosive, but he just wants to cry tears. So he has formulated a policy, that is, it is impossible to reveal that he can create positive and negative force explosive stones for people to use in batches. Let me try. The fox creature looked deeply at the positive and negative force explosive stone that Jia Yan handed over. After Jia Yan handed it over to the other party, he took a few steps back, and then let go of his brainwave power control. The next moment, the fox creature suddenly felt that he could not control the positive and negative force explosive stone in his hand. As soon as the brainwave power was suppressed, it exploded. For a moment, the explosive power of ice and snow, which could kill a mid-level combat creature in the galaxy, exploded inside the camp where they were located. If he hadn't been a territory lord and immediately suppressed the power of the explosion with his brainwave power, I'm afraid the small military tent they were in would have been destroyed. But even so, the fox creature felt a burst of power consumption, which surprised him at the power of this explosive. It's really impossible to grasp. Your brainwave power is actually positive and negative? No wonder, I said, why your feet have such strong speed and power when you attack. Is this the reason why your brainwave power is unique? Look. You must be extremely talented, others really can't use your creations. That fox creature is indeed a domain lord creature. The explosion just now made it clear what the positive and negative explosives relied on. At the same time, he also lamented that it turned out that Jia Yan's brainwave power actually had two properties, positive and negative. No wonder he had strong combat power and could create such terrifying positive and negative explosives. For a moment, he even thought with surprise that since these explosives and the like were made with the power of Jia Yan's brainwaves, wouldn't it be great if he were promoted to the domain lord level in the future and found suitable materials? Say, can he create explosives that threaten the domain master's creatures? You know, Jia Yan makes this kind of item, and if it is made in advance, it will not affect the brainwave power during battle. Think about it, if he reaches the domain lord level during the battle, and then the goddess scatters a large number of explosive stones, the enemy domain lord creatures will die like dumplings. Thinking of this scene, he took a deep look at Jia Yan and felt that this alien visitor seemed to have the potential to be cultivated. You can't control it either? It's such a pity. Hearing that the fox creature could not be controlled, the little devil princess suddenly lost interest. She couldn't ask Jia Yan to go to the battlefield. And if Jia Yan can't give this explosive to others, it means he is the only one who is strong, so it doesn't make much sense. I can't control it either, so Your Excellency Jia Yan, we have approved your application. You will study this explosive carefully later. If it can be handed over to others for use, our powerful masters who control the power will be very grateful to you. Maybe the adults above will personally grant you the most valuable reward, even a fief. Before the fox creature left, he paid special attention to Jia Yan. It's a pity that Jia Yan didn't want so much, so how could he fall into the trap? After a while of wrangling, he watched the little devil and the fox territory lord heading to the front line, as well as the army including another army territory lord. That's how I was appointed here to become an officer waiting for reinforcements to arrive. That's fine. I will slowly cultivate until this war is over. Jia Yan smiled, then took his troops and horses and flew towards his newly appointed military camp. For the next period of time, Jia Yan was really at ease. And more importantly, the military needed all the high radiation ice and snow stones he had purchased for his cultivation, and he could get them as much as he wanted. In this way, Jia Yan enjoyed the joy of practicing at almost zero cost. It was so comfortable that he felt that he would really join the army of the master family. Of course, he is not someone who is easily deceived. He really became a soldier. It is probably because of Jia Yan's fortunate and dangerous days that he was not so stupid. Moreover, Jia Yan clearly felt that there were always people around him observing his practice, especially when he asked for some ice and snow stones to refine explosive stones. I had a strong premonition that there seemed to be a device secretly recording myself. Although he had already felt it, Jia Yan did not point it out directly. Instead, he let it go on because Jia Yan wanted to justify himself. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2250. After understanding his own refining process and studying it, no one will think that his refining can really be copied. After that, no one will probably think of using explosive rocks anymore. Time goes by like this, seemingly extraordinary. The battle in the ice and snow region is actually nothing to the land of the master's family. Even a little princess from the direct line came here because it was necessary to give the little princess a chance to practice. Otherwise, the matter would probably be a partial one at most, or even let a few border guards in the ice and snow land solve it on their own. For Dottie, the master of Nyada, there is always a war within the 100 million kilometers of its rule, whether it is a war against certain internal rebel forces or a local war on some borders. There will be a large number of personnel on the front lines at all times. The events in Ice and Snow City were slightly different just because of the existence of the master, Princess Scylla. However, at the beginning, the crisis caused a big news hotspot, but only a few after the day passes, this news will be over, and there will be no more waves. Even in the ice and snow city, everyone was extremely afraid for a week. However, half a month later, it was as if nothing had happened. Everyone returned to their original life, and even the economy was not affected too much. Big impact. In fact, the reason is that the master family took action. When a region becomes turbulent, the most worrisome thing is the economy. The ice and snow region has already been on shaky ground due to its single economic form. Now it is even less likely that there will be any economic difficulties due to a small-scale sneak attack. This may actually cause leading to big problems in ice and snow areas. Ever since, under the united efforts of everyone, everything in Ice and Snow City was as if nothing had happened, and half a month passed smoothly. Report: there is still no big action on the front line today, and Her Royal Highness the Little Princess has not launched an attack. It was the same war report as always. I know, by the way, I heard that masters from the master family will come to take over my position soon, right? I wonder if they will be here soon. After Jia Yan listened to the report, he asked as usual. The intelligence creature who reported the war to Jia Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Such mutual questioning every day has become a routine event. But today is a little different. He calmed down and responded, "Yes, sir, today I heard from the intelligence department that the masters of the master family are coming soon. If you don't like the life of the army, you can get what you want right away. It's us I don't want to let you go, adults." This creature really doesn't want to let go of Jia Yan, because Jia Yan has become a relatively famous master, and he doesn't have much of a temper. He treats ordinary biological strong warriors differently than he treats a galaxy-level strong warrior. The attitude is the same. And if there is another strong person from the master family, everyone knows that those who serve the master family must be arrogant, and their life will never be so easy again. Haha, there is no such thing as a feast that lasts forever, brothers. I believe that even if you are not my subordinates, you can still achieve great results and use your military exploits to reach higher positions in the future. Jia Yan said a flattering word without any pain. After talking to the soldier for a few more words, the soldier left the temporary residence of Jia Yan's army. In fact, Jia Yan's status is a bit strange. He does not accept military positions, but he still holds a high position. Fortunately, this kind of thing is quite common in Biostar. In every force, there are always people who are unwilling to serve, but they are unwilling to serve. And the servant's duties. Jia Yan's so-called position is called temporary military instructor. He is said to be an instructor, but in fact he manages many affairs in the army. Moreover, he commanded this army, and there were approximately more than 1,500 soldiers, including several galaxy-level powerhouses. This shows how reassuring the little devil princess and the others are to Jia Yan. Of course, he did not manage every aspect because he was not familiar with the North Star Army and did not know how to manage it. Thank you, Lord Jia Yan, for rescuing the little princess. Leave the rest to me. One day later, the successor to the master family that Jia Yan had been waiting for finally arrived. And he was quite polite to Jia Yan. Even the masters within the master's family knew that the little princess didn't need anyone else to save her, but they still agreed with Jia Yan's bravery and his sincere desire to help the little princess, so they treated Jia Yan it's relatively good. You're welcome. After your lord takes over, I'll be fine. I don't understand military matters. I've been on pins and needles these past few days. Your Excellency Jia Yan, you can't say that, there is a first time for everything. Maybe you and I will have a chance to cooperate in the future. No, I don't want to have the experience of joining the army next time, ha ha ha, I'm just a wandering cloud and wild crane. Jia Yan said something against his will, and then the two parties seemed to chat in an extremely harmonious manner for a long time. Then Jia Yan transferred the power to the strong man, and he walked away. I finally left. The month I spent in the army was so uncomfortable for me. In mid-air, Jia Yan flew high. Because his status was no longer the same as before, he gained the privilege of flying in the ice and snow city. He was not accustomed to being subordinate to others. He had been severely restrained these past few days, and his every move was monitored. It was really hard for Jia Yan. Even after being promoted, it would be more comfortable to go to the front line to participate in the war. Fortunately, I endured it. The battle has not really broken out in the past few days. It must be that after the last trial blitz, both the ice and snow city side and the enemy side need a certain amount of rebreeding before they can fight again. The little princess spoke very bravely, saying she was going to fight the enemy, but in fact she didn't fight, it was just a confrontation, so there must be someone who sees the overall situation around her who persuaded her, and judging from the situation, it will take a certain amount of time for the two sides to fight again, so there should be no problem if I continue to stay in Ice and Snow City for a while. Jia Yan knew that the little devil personally led the main army to the front line in front of Ice and Snow City. Even if a war really started again, the fighting would definitely happen on the front line. The enemy would not have the chance to send a small mobile force to come attacking Ice and Snow City, so it is okay for him to continue to stay in Ice and Snow City. What's more, I took advantage of the opportunity this time and refined nearly 100 pieces of positive and negative explosive energy stones. Then I enriched my own pockets and obtained 1,000 pieces of high radiation ice and snow energy ores. If I don't use them up through cultivation in the land of ice and snow, if you take it out, the effect will be weakened a lot, so you can only stay for a while. Jia Yan still values the ice and snow energy mines. This time in the army, he built more than 2,000 pieces of ice and snow energy mines in the name of personal cultivation and compensating for the loss of ice and snow explosives. This thing is cheap in this area. Jia Yan could buy it for 1,000 yuan with his personal financial resources before, so using the power of the army to buy it for 2,000 yuan is just a drizzle. Of course, it must be said that Jia Yan is a meritorious person, otherwise ordinary army soldiers would not be able to receive such treatment. After all, this kind of ore is said to be cheap, but in fact it is not cheap enough to ruin the streets. Besides, it was only 2,000 yuan in one go. Several companies had to clear out their inventories to get so much, which was a lot of money. After much thought, Jia Yan felt that it would be better to return to the house he rented before. He hasn't used up the rent there yet, but he has some doubts. During the last battle, he knocked a big hole out of the house. After that, the 5 powerful men came to chase him, and he didn't know if it affected the rented house. With such doubts, Jia Yan returned to the village outside Ice and Snow City. Lord Jia Yan, you are back. Ha ha ha, I knew that Mr. Jia Yan still remembers our village. I can actually see Mr. Jia Yan again. It seems that Mr. Jia Yan is nostalgic. I wonder what Mr. Jia Yan is planning to do when he comes back this time. Do you want to stay here for a long time? I'll give you my house. Jia Yan was a little nervous when he returned to the village, but he didn't expect that he would be greeted by a large number of villagers. In fact, if you think about it carefully, you will know that Jia Yan's current identity is not the existence of unknown origin, but a great hero who helped the little princess of the master family, and even saved the village in the beginning of the battle. Produced in. As a result, the entire village regarded Jia Yan as one of their own and a great hero in the village. Besides, no one died in the last battle in the village, so there weren't that many grudges. As for the house that Jia Yan broke into, it's even simpler. The landlord has now kept the house as it is and offers it for people to visit. They are even prepared to charge money and call it a museum. In a place where there had been no fighting for hundreds of years, such a classic heroic battle took place, and the energy it could create was something that no one had expected. So when Jia Yan arrived anxiously, he thought the villagers might not have a good attitude, but unexpectedly, they all wanted him to rent a house in their own home. And it doesn't cost any money. Ahem, that's the previous landlord. I still want to rent there. I just need to fix the house. No, I'll be responsible for the repairs. I'm used to it, but I'm not used to other places. Jia Yan quickly rejected other invitations and chose the previous warehouse-like house. The landlord was naturally very happy. Although the damage caused by the battle would be gone, but the hero returned, he might be able to use a new pretense in the future to say how comfortable his warehouse is, and the hero would come back to stay for a second time. No one knows, Jia Yan is just used to it, and the rent has not yet arrived. After calculating the money to help repair the roof, there is still money left, so how can he lose it? So, Jia Yan called the maintenance team, quickly prepared the house, and lived in it again. The only difference from before is that he is now more radiant than before. Before, he was more like a recluse. But now, no matter how reclusive he is, there will be a large number of villagers or outsiders watching him every day. Following him, even various media came to interview the villagers. Fortunately, one thing is better, that is, as long as Jia Yan disagrees, or Jia Yan does not show up, no one will come to trouble him, and no one will knock on the door to ask for permission, because everyone knows, Jia Yan is a fighting-type mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy. If his practice is disturbed by outsiders, no one will complain if he kills the outsiders. In fact, Jia Yan was not affected too much. At most, he was watched when he went out. In the past, it was more serious when he was in the starry sky. At this time, it was just drizzle. He was just practicing self-cultivation in a rented house, turning on the technological soundproofing equipment that blocked outside sounds every day. Even if someone really knocked on the door, he wouldn't be able to hear it unless it was at the alarm level. Buzz. On this day, Jia Yan started another experiment in subspace. A crisp sound appeared in the rental house. Then the subspace split apart silently and extremely fast. It's been compressed to 0.5 seconds. Compared with the limit speed of 0.3 seconds between me and the public program, there is only 0.2 seconds difference. In fact, it's not much different. Looking at the dark subspace in front of him, Jia Yan sighed slightly. As long as the speed of opening the subspace by himself can catch up with the speed of opening the subspace by the public program, then the public program can be completely given up, and then his subspace talent, if it takes 0.3 seconds, in actual combat, there is actually much to be achieved. After all, inside the North Superstar, everything is scaled down. The subspace opens in 0.3 seconds. As long as the distance is farther away, even the domain master creature can't stop him from escaping. It's enough to even deal with the mid-level combat type galaxy peak. If it's a little further away, I'll use this method to enter the subspace, and then quietly launch from behind the opponent or in the blind spot of the line of sight, and then attack by surprise. The only way to do this is to throw explosives. This way, my chances of winning are much higher and it's much safer. Jia Yangzhen was thinking about this, but his body moved and he squeezed into the subspace. Inside the subspace, everything seemed to be completely distorted, and the pressure was incredibly high. The basic structure of the subspace in this northern giant is the feeling of a subspace in the outside world, but it can be understood as compressed by thousands of times of distortion pressure. This is why Jia Yan has been unable to tear apart the subspace for so long, and it is also difficult to move in the subspace. Reasons to store items in space. But now, these inconveniences are being eliminated by him bit by bit. It hurts. In fact, it's a bit painful inside the subspace. Even the blue defense can't resist the pain. However, thanks to this kind of training, my subspace talents and real abilities are still improving, making up for my previous shortcomings and flaws. I can't imagine how my current subspace abilities will be used in the outside world. What kind of performance? Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2251. 5 minutes later, a gap in space opened 5 meters away from the warehouse, and Jia Yan's figure emerged from it. I have been able to stay in the subspace for more than 5 minutes. I feel that I can stay a little longer, but it is not a battle now, so I just have to have a good idea. Jia Yan felt for himself and nodded with satisfaction. At the moment, he didn't know whether he would be able to enter 10 degrees of subspace if he went to the normal subspace. Even if he couldn't enter, it wouldn't be too far off. Jia Yan has made such great progress in Biostar, and is basically satisfied with it. After practicing like this, about 5 days have passed, and there is still no news from the front line. It is calm, and there should be no problems. Jia Yan turned on the Ji now. After so many days, no one bothered him except for some unimportant news, so Jia Yan turned off the Ji now communicator. He didn't know why, but he always had a weird feeling of anxiety, or maybe it was because of his past experiences that he didn't have that much safe time, so he always felt like something was wrong after being in the North Star, which was known to be very dangerous, for so long. But no matter how much Jia Yan thought about it, he still didn't know where the problem was. During the days when he stopped practicing, he often walked through the door of his rental house to communicate with others outside. Nearly a month has passed like this. It has been more than a year since Jia Yan arrived inside the North Star. In more than a year, he has become familiar with Biostar, and has improved a lot, especially his understanding of the entire strong system and energy, which has become very clear. This is probably the most perfect stage of Jia Yan's harvest in more than a year. Although I have a lot of things at my disposal now, they are still a bit complicated. I need to master more details, sort out the results, and then think about the way forward. Finally, I can cultivate myself wholeheartedly, so that I can reach the level of Domain Lord in one fell swoop. Jia Yan looked around, then smiled slightly. He doesn't care if there is a problem or not. No matter if there is a problem, he is just a guest passing by Bio Superstar. If there is any big event, he will just run away. But just when Jia Yan was thinking about this, a piece of news shocked him slightly, and an extremely shocking wave surged in his heart. It turns out that on this day, another month has passed, the ice and snow city has remained calm, but on other fronts, that is, on several fronts of the Master's family, wars have broken out. Several large neighboring forces came with great momentum. Moreover, the enemy's previous assassination team appeared together again. This time they did not fail to assassinate the little devil princess, but news came that 5 direct descendants of the entire Master's family had died. This is a disciple of the Master's family. Each of the princes and princesses was like Master Sela, but 5 of them were assassinated by the enemy in one day. Such shocking news, how could Jia Yan not be horrified? Oh no, could it be that the enemies around the Master's family have all joined forces? For a moment, Jia Yan thought of the behavior around the Master family. After he came to Biostar, there were assassinations and waves of battles. I am afraid that this attack has been brewing for a long time. A large Master's family's territory cannot be destroyed at once, but the attack of so many forces shows that the Master's family's territory is likely to fall into war, and even the Master's family may slowly, if it weakens. I must check the situation and try to stay away from the battlefield. Jia Yan originally entered Biostar, so he tried his best to avoid places where there was competition, because he knew that his strength could not interfere with such places. But the problem is, he doesn't want to get involved, but things will come to him. Lord Jia Yan. Honoring my order, you go and participate in the recruitment of the battle group next door. This is a mandatory order. When Jia Yan was about to inquire about the progress of the situation, another group of powerful creatures wearing military uniforms and weapons and equipment came to Jia Yan's rental house. The commanding tone they used made Jia Yan feel a little uncomfortable. However, thinking about the many benefits that the master family has given him, he has also publicly stated before that he is willing to continue to cooperate with the master family. This relationship is similar to his previous feeling of joining forces with the Zerg Queen's forces, but the master forces regard him more as the feeling of being subordinate. Thinking of this, Jia Yan endured a trace of anger and did not refuse in a hurry. Instead, he asked what he was asked to do. As a strong person at the peak of the middle level of the galaxy, and also recognized by the outside world as a super powerful fighting being, his words are not just those of a weak person, and he has the right to know. The reply from this group of soldiers made Jia Yan's heart sink. As expected, whatever you worry about will come true. Jia Yan knew that what he was most worried about was that the enemy would attack the surrounding area, but he never expected that no one would attack in the ice and snow area. Instead, the enemy's shadow appeared in another surrounding plain terrain. And it's not a shadow, but the shadow of an army, a real army of another large force. Oh, let's go and take a look, otherwise I will not be able to stand in the power of the master for a while. Jia Yan was helpless and chose to obey the order. He can look at the situation and then talk. After all, now, his confidence in self-preservation has deepened. On the battlefield, if he finds that something cannot be done, he can open the subspace and leave quietly while fighting or resting. He can stay in the subspace for more than 5 minutes, and even 6 to 7 minutes in extreme cases. Judging from the folding characteristics of the subspace, he can fly a long distance, even if he is a domain master creature, as long as he is not talented in the subspace. Or even those that are too strong, will not be able to catch Jia Yan. This is where Jia Yan's confidence lies. Of course, he is also developing other confidence and other advantages. That's the positive and negative explosives, plus his own combat power that is slowly becoming more powerful through yin and yang dao. Actually, I don't seem to want to fight, haha, I have changed. Recalling the various combat abilities and advantages he had summed up, Jia Yan felt eager to give it a try. Then he confirmed with a wry smile that he was actually willing to follow the army. Another big hidden reason was actually that he was deeply aware of the situation. Buried deep in his heart, the fighting spirit that he desperately suppressed after arriving at Biostar has been boiling. Jia Yan once again tidied up the renovated rented house that he had lived in for only 2 months, and then said goodbye to the villagers and landlords. Considering that he went to another area this time, he felt that it was unlikely that he would come back. So he spoke more decisively, which made all the villagers feel sad. By the way, Mr. Jia Yan, the temperature in the plain area we went to is not much higher, so the ice and snow ore in your hand will not have a great impact, but I still don't recommend that you buy more, and the one you have is the best. Use it up quickly, otherwise it will be consumed relatively quickly. The senior soldiers of the army who contacted Jia Yan were visitors to the military camp in the ice and snow area. They still had a certain fondness for Jia Yan, so they also taught Jia Yan better intelligence. Oh, I almost forgot if I didn't mention it. Going to the outside world will consume ice and snow ores faster than those in ice and snow areas. This is a big problem. Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, and then felt a pity that there were still a lot of ice and snow ores stored in his subspace. However, the positive and negative force ice and snow explosive stones I created seem not to be affected by the external environment, and the energy loss will not be too great. So, if I transform all the necessary ice and snow ores into ice and snow explosives, can I keep it longer? Jia Yan was also heartbroken by the non-permanent nature of ice and snow ores. But this was the reason why he came to the ice and snow area in the first place. Ice and snow ores were cheap and easy to use. If he switched to specialty minerals from other places, he would not have gained so much. Just do what comes to mind. When following the troops into the mobile vehicle, Jia Yan was transforming and using ice and snow stones along the way, consuming as much ice and snow stones as possible. With this rapid use, his body, due to the cold properties of the ice and snow stone, the entire skeletal surface has a slight cold attribute. It's just that the attribute characteristics are not strong, and it doesn't help much in combat. It just makes his blue defense stronger. Jia Yan also discovered something, that is, in the past, he had always devoured energy mines with thermal energy attributes, as well as star cores, etc., but now it was different. The ice and snow stones he devoured had always had a fire attribute, changing gotta balance it out. This is probably Jia Yan's biggest gain in the land of ice and snow, his whole body has become balanced. Call. Once again, Jia Yan took a deep breath of the power of ice and snow, and then his whole body felt comfortable. Is ice and fire not yin and yang? Now, my whole body feels comfortable. The yin and yang are harmonious and balanced. It seems that my decision to come to this land of ice and snow is really the right one. He had never enjoyed such a comfortable physical feeling, and his breathing felt smoother. Cluck cluck. When the blue defense rose, Jia Yan also felt it, and there was a feeling of joy in his body. Probably the improvement in my physical strength is not very obvious, but there is still an improvement. The biggest advantage is that it allows me to see the road ahead of the physical domain lord more clearly. I don't know, it will be like this in the future. Keep swallowing things in harmony with yin and yang, otherwise it will be biased towards a certain aspect, which is not a good thing for my yin and yang. Another point is that I gradually understood what the powerful being of this race who originally created the evolved beast thought. He probably wanted to study whether the existence of the evolved beast will create a balance of energy. Could it be that when we reach the powerful level in the future, we will consider the coordination of energy, so that we can be promoted successfully? Jia Yan briefly thought about the powerful creature that created the evolved beast family. In the past, he always felt that he should not think too much about this kind of existence because it was too far away from him, and in the past, he had no understanding of basic things. I also know too little about it, so don't think too much, otherwise you will be troubled. But now it's different, because his level and knowledge reserve have reached a certain level. So you can think more, see more, and think more. After thinking more, Jia Yan gradually felt that his understanding of many things had become much deeper. This is also the reason why many beings of the same level who talk to Jia Yan have always vaguely said that Jia Yan is young. To put it bluntly, in the past, Jia Yan was still young, but what often exposed his youth was his knowledge and experience. Discourse. Being strong doesn't mean you're knowledgeable, nor does it mean you can't learn from the weak. If Jia Yan was a superficial young man in the past, then now he is a little less superficial and even a young man with some insights. All these things are reserves for becoming a domain master. Everything is going on in an orderly manner, and everything is just waiting for the day when he becomes a domain master in the future. Boom. The military vehicles in the sky have been flying rapidly. There's a call from the front saying that war has begun and our situation is serious. Is the war already started? In other words, when we arrive at the battlefield, we will directly plunge into it. That's right, Lord Jia Yan. The higher UPS express their gratitude to you for being able to support us on the battlefield, and we are also urging you to speed up. I understand, let the chariot speed up. The intelligence news in the past few days has been extremely serious. While Jia Yan was practicing, he heard similar information every day. In addition to the war starting in the plateau area next door, all the major forces in the surrounding areas were erupting further, and the Master's forces fell into passivity for an instant. Fortunately, every force has a deep foundation. For example, the Master's force has reserves, and every force under its banner has strong men. Even if they really want to pull out the strong, the Master's force can easily pull up more than 100 Domain Lord level combat troops, or even more. So the land of the master cannot be defeated at once. Even if we retreat all the way, the depth of 100 million kilometers will take the enemy many years to fly forward on a flying car at the other end. It is so deep that even a little resistance would require tens, hundreds, or even thousands of years of fighting. Jia Yan is not interested in the outcome of this war. He only needs to know that from now on, the land of the master's influence, and even all the surrounding forces, will fall into chaos, which will last for a long time. This is just because they only fight. The situation of the master's family. If they join forces with those forces and there is no discord between them, this war will probably continue to burn. The entire area, hundreds of millions of kilometers, will be turned into scorched earth. At least it will not be possible for many years. Change. And he didn't care about what happened so far away. He just needed to know that no matter where he went, as long as he couldn't leave this large area quickly, he couldn't escape the battlefield. It's a pity that I am not a domain master creature, otherwise I would have relied on my own energy to go outside the North Star, so that I could escape from this battlefield anytime and anywhere. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2252. But it's said that North Star is like this. There is a possibility of war everywhere. As long as I enter North Star, I will encounter the possibility of being affected by war. I already knew this before coming to North Star. And this war started with peace. In other words, the intensity of the war and the tragedy on both sides at the beginning may not be that great, so I have a little chance to let myself go on this battlefield. The improvement is faster. Yes, let's do it this way. First, it's this plain battlefield. Jia Yan changed his mind. Before every battle, because the two sides fighting were both very large forces and controlled a huge territory, even if several parties joined forces to attack, it would not be extremely fierce from the beginning. Jia Yan can take advantage of the initial conflict and take a step forward. Region Lord, I don't have extravagant expectations. It seems that Territory Lord is not that simple now. The lowest level Territory Lord like Black Sheep can quit halfway through promotion. I don't want to achieve success, at least like this Territory Lord like the Queen of Zerg. Jia Yan didn't want to become a domain master like a Black Sheep, otherwise he would be able to launch an attack soon. What he wants to achieve is to be at least a domain lord like the Zerg Queen, or even a future one, otherwise he won't be promoted. So he thought that when the battle in the Master's land began, he could participate in the battle when it was not so fierce in the early days. This would ensure safety and allow him to learn more about various powerful people, and increase his benefits. In this way, you can accumulate your own primitive accumulation. When you attack the domain master in the future, you will not only have a greater grasp, but also have a greater advantage after being promoted successfully. Combat type Territory Lord, my goal is this. As long as I become a combat type Territory Lord, my strength will be like a rocket, and I will be directly promoted to the top in the entire land of masters. The chariot that Jia Yan was riding was very fast. It was rain or shine along the way, and it flew into another place next to the land of ice and snow, called the High Ice Plain. It was said to be a plain, but when Jia Yan occasionally looked outside on the chariot, he still found that large areas of the plain were covered with ice and snow. After all, it is a place connected to the ice and snow area. For this vast land, it is impossible for such a small distance to cause such a big temperature change. But the ice and snow have indeed melted a lot, and the farther we go, the warmer we get. Even the ice and snow stone in my hand seems to be consuming energy much faster. Jia Yan felt the ice and snow ore in his feet. This stone was taken out for simple observation. He found that the ice and snow stone that had not changed much in the land of ice and snow actually melted a lot here. He knew that he had control over it. Those ice and snow ores should be used quickly or pressed into ice and snow explosives. Therefore, Jia Yan did not pay much attention to the changes in the outside world, but gradually entered the process of concentrating on practicing or developing ice and snow explosives. It's just that the news that their troops are coming to rescue seems relatively hidden, but in fact, in the eyes of intelligence personnel on both sides, it is as conspicuous as the bright moon in the night. So when Jia Yan and the others finally entered the plains, the ice and snow under the earth had almost melted, and patches of green grass began to appear. Puff! Not good. While practicing, Jia Yan suddenly opened his eyes. Then, regardless of the other things in the tank or other comrades, he knocked the tank away by himself and appeared in mid-air. And the speed of flying away is extremely fast. Fortunately, he is a flying expert at the peak of the middle level of the galaxy. With his wings flapping hard and his brainwave power unreservedly helping him fly, he is extremely fast. As soon as he flew, he suddenly felt that the chariot he was riding behind was hit by a flaming object. Then, the tank exploded. The extremely powerful explosion made Jia Yan feel horrified. If he was hit by the bomb, I'm afraid he would have to use all his blue defense, otherwise it would be difficult not to get hurt. Of course, if he was really hit, it would be instinctive to use azure defense. For him, this wouldn't hurt him much at all, but it would just waste a lot of his strength. In other words, within the entire North Star, there is no weapon that can easily hurt the middle-level peak beings of the galaxy, not even this seemingly militarized weapon. One of the reasons for this is the low level of scientific research in the North Star, and the other reason is the limitation of the ranks of the strong. Otherwise, generally speaking, the level of science and technology is still possible to develop weapons that cause casualties in the galaxy class. It is difficult to do it in the starry sky because the materials in the starry sky are more difficult to have such density and are difficult to shape. It is also impossible to catch up with the galaxy-level powerhouses in the starry sky who have many means of movement. It is possible to do it in Biostar, but no one dares to do it publicly. This is because the strong people are all restricting it. Of course, even within the North Star, it is still difficult to make a weapon that can kill the galaxy-level powerhouses, especially those at the top of the mid-level galaxy, because the strong are the strong. Even if they run into the North Star, they will be killed. The material that compresses the body is still not something that ordinary weapons can hurt or kill. Hu! Jia Yan's whole body surged with strength, and the power of his brainwaves fiercely blasted towards the place where the weapon was fired. At the same time, other tanks of this unit also had strong men or weapons fired at the location where the attack had just been fired. You must know that Jia Yan came with a large army. Although the attacking weapon damaged several vehicles including Jia Yan's vehicle, there were actually 500 to 600 tanks flying in the air, and the number of personnel was the number exceeds 3,000 to 4,000 people. It is extremely difficult for the enemy to bulldoze a team composed of so many strong men in one wave. However, the enemy attack just now still killed some of the people here. For Jia Yan and the others, this was embarrassing. Just when Jia Yan's brainwave power passed by, he found that his brainwave power was actually blocked by a force. It turns out that there are galaxy-level enemies present. Huh? Very good. Among these attacking guys, there is actually a galaxy level. Then I will accept this life. Jia Yan believes that in such a blocking battle, as long as there is no relatively strong enemy in the first wave of attacks, it means that the enemy's strength is just that. At best, it is just a group of people fighting to block and harass. But if there is a galaxy-level enemy among the enemy, then this wave will not be a loss. As long as he can kill this enemy's galaxy level, then they will be equivalent to killing one of the enemy's generals. They have not yet reached the official battlefield. Just get a little bit of military exploits. Boom. On the ground in mid-air, a galaxy-level powerhouse flew away from the shelter with a loud bang, without retreating, and soared into the sky in the direction of Jiayan. He actually wanted to fight Jiayan. And in several other places, there were also strong men who tore off their disguises, flying up from the ground and flying towards the troops led by Jiayan. There are so many galaxy-level ones. Could it be that this is not a harassment team, but a real blocking force? Jiayan was shocked and confused. In fact, this means that the enemy also made a mistake. What's going on? Didn't the intelligence say that this incoming force was led by a not surprisingly strong man in the Master's force? Why is he so powerful? We bombarded his tank with the strongest artillery fire, but we still didn't kill him. The strong man who was at the top of the middle level of the galaxy had a very ugly look on his face. The intelligence they got said that the coming Master's force led the troops, but there were actually not many strong men, and the strong man leading the army did not have much strength. The intelligence said, in the past, I borrowed money from unknown people. They understood that this strong man had no strength. It's true, because he had no reputation in the past, which means he is not a strong man. The growth of a strong man is inseparable from fighting. Even the reputation does not mean that his previous battles have not made any noise. So it is judged that this strong man is a strong man with insufficient strength, isn't it right? If these attackers knew what the intelligence officer wanted to express, and it was not this, they would probably be dumbfounded and wish they could pull the intelligence officer out and kill him. The good information was not explained clearly, and now they had to face a man who was suspected to have reached the peak of the mid-level combat-type galaxy. This was a big mistake. Well done. Jiayan did not dodge or avoid. As long as the person who comes is not a domain lord, then he dares to touch it now. Even though he is a combat-type mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy, he has ice and snow explosives that he has prepared for many months. Even if 10 of them kill one person, he is sure to avoid the current crisis. In other words, after being a coward in Biostar for so long and gaining a bit of strength, Jiayan can start wandering again. Of course, you need to think more about the threat of the Territory Lord. After all, the Territory Lord is really around here, and they are likely to take action against a fighting powerhouse who is at the top of the mid-level galaxy. After all, in here, no Territory Lord would say anything about maintaining his own identity and not fighting against an ordinary galaxy-level powerhouse. The status of the Territory Lord's existence is low, so they don't have so many worries. Fortunately, at least there was no Domain Lord on this battlefield, otherwise Jiayan would have fled immediately. Puff. The first blow between the two sides was a head-on collision with their bodies. Jiayan's 2 feet, which had turned azure at some point, clashed with each other and gained repulsion. Then, using this repulsion, his right foot collided with one of the enemy's attacking paws. When? This time, sparks flew everywhere. What? The middle-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy who fought with Jiayan was not a fighting type, but he claimed to be a strong man in the army. He usually trained very strictly and had a lot of combat experience. He thought that he was fighting against a fighting type. When fighting for existence, it is impossible to lose instantly. But today, his first blow was blocked. Then he felt the enemy's other free front foot, and in the flash of lightning, he stabbed suddenly again. Too fast. Puff. He used his other paw to block it, but it was impossible to resist. So he was hit by a foot on the chest, and the foot that emitted blue light did not know what it did. It pierced his chest in an instant, and then brainwave power exploded in his body. Bang! His chest was completely blown away, and his body fell from the sky like tattered cloth. In fact, the difference in strength between the two sides was not that big. He just didn't expect Jiayan's feet to be so fast, so he hit the target with the first move. Moreover, the explosion of Jiayan's brainwave power in his body was not like when Jiayan defeated the enemy in the past. After the brainwave power entered the enemy's body, it exploded his body into pieces. This time Jia Yan also the use of positive and negative forces only caused the strong man to lose a large piece of meat on his chest and lose part of his combat effectiveness. It did not mean that he lost the ability to fight again. Sharp. The strong man's face was ugly. He was a creature like a honey badger, but now he didn't feel too fierce, but his heart was cold. He knew that this surprise attack would at least be difficult to kill this strong man. This should be a fighting type existence, but there is no way to seriously injure me when he kills my body, which shows that even if he is a fighting type, he is still an ordinary fighting type, and may even be the most powerful one. Weak fighting type? Let's forget it this time. The strong man looked around. The group of galaxy-level strongmen who followed him were fighting fiercely with the strongmen in the tank, but overall it was his own advantage. After all, the strength of this rescue team was not strong, there are not many galaxy-level strong people. It was enough for them to kill the strong warriors of Jia Yan's army, which numbered about 200. Walk. This strong man made the right decision the first moment he retreated from Jia Yan. After all, he is a strong man who has been fighting on the battlefield all year round and is very sure of making prompt decisions. Jia Yan was about to chase him, but the technological weapons below lit up again. He had no choice but to avoid it. A large swath of technological weapons shines brightly, everyone, including Jia Yan, was suppressed by these weapons. Not long after, these enemy troops evacuated one by one under the brilliance of artillery fire, and the weapons that had been flashing artillery fire automatically exploded on the ground, leaving not even a trace of residue for Jia Yan and the others. Sir, we lost about 300 soldiers this time, and the enemy left more than 50 corpses. Jia Yan's face turned pale after receiving the intelligence response. This can't be called a victory, it's already a small defeat. At least the enemy's harassment tactics were effective. Jia Yan felt very sad. If this was his first victory, he would probably be left out in the battle camp in the plains. After all, they needed a strong man who was good at fighting to help, even if he was good at it. And the help of the explosives, but if he can't command the battle, he is just a high-level thug. High-speed text hand-typing chapter list of rebirth of the giant mosquito in the starry sky. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2253. And if you are a battlefield thug, you have to be on the battlefield all the time. If you are looked down upon by a strong domain lord and killed, Jia Yan will have no place to cry. Hunt. They decided to hunt down and get back the lost fight. Otherwise, your value will be greatly reduced. This is a natural thing for the strong. If the value does not exist, or if people think that you can only fight alone, then it will be difficult for you to get rid of this suspicion. Therefore, Jia Yan must make a decisive decision. Even if there is a possibility of danger, as long as you act quickly enough and don't act recklessly in front of the enemy's large army, there is a chance of recovery. Hurry up and get all your troops together, leave some people behind to organize themselves, and most of the others will catch up with me. Yes. This partial division unit is equivalent to temporarily taking orders from Jia Yan. Although he does not hold a formal position in this unit, to others, it is no different from a formal position. All the soldiers and Zing-level subordinates were all regular soldiers, and it was their nature to obey orders. Even if one or two Zing-level soldiers were not satisfied, after thinking about it, they understood Jia Yan's approach and nodded directly. Implement. This action is not only a problem for Jia Yan, but also a problem for all of them. Ordinary soldiers are okay. To put it bluntly, no matter what merits they have performed, they are just cannon fodder. The strength of the strong limits any promotion for them. But the Galaxy class is different. If they have decisive execution ability now, they may not have better positions and safer places for them to stay in the future. Every strong man cherishes his life. To put it harshly, the strong men below the Domain Lord will worry about going to the battlefield because they are not at the Domain Lord level and will be killed by any Domain Lord who can't stand it. Buzz buzz. Not long after, more than 300 military vehicles sped up quickly, chasing the group of enemy soldiers in the direction they had fled. The enemy team that was running away in the distance did not expect that the real team that was attacked by themselves and others would dare to chase them. Because that army obviously does not have a Domain Lord. Although there is a being with acceptable strength, no matter how you look at it, it is not as powerful as a combat-type creature. It is not even possible to say whether it has the peak strength of the mid-level combat-type galaxy. Allow. Sir, if you hadn't been injured accidentally, maybe we could have wiped out this entire force this time. What a pity. That's right, that guy doesn't look that strong. If you hadn't been prepared, sir, he wouldn't have been able to hurt you. Several galactic-level powerhouses just gathered around the injured person, complimenting him as much as they could. Although they could actually see that in the battle just now, their superiors were actually weaker than the other party, but the other party could not kill their superiors with one blow, which showed that their superiors still had a certain ability to protect themselves. Moreover, the result of the battle was that they won a battle, so there was nothing wrong with compliments. Don't kill me. I know my own strength. The insect-like guy just now has a weird fighting ability. I really can't beat him, but it's not that easy for him to kill me. Now I have knowing his fighting methods, if I fight him again, I can at least hold on for 10 more moves. Haha, that's enough. Although our mobile team may not be as strong as theirs, they still have a lot of combat weapons. If we fight again, they will definitely be wiped out by us. After all, we have several galaxy level they will come to surround and kill him. But the commander's judgment is correct. We are an assault team, not here to annihilate any troops. It is enough to harass them, make them suspicious, and slow down the progress. Several major galactic levels were chatting and laughing. But not long after, one of the strong men in the raid team was in charge of intelligence. He listened to the contents of the communicator, and his expression suddenly changed. Sir. Damn it, that small unit that was attacked by us by surprise actually dared to chase us. After hearing this, the expression of the injured strong man changed, and then he sneered. I'm afraid that the commander of the enemy unit is a new recruit on the battlefield. With some strength, he actually dared to come and pursue him. He doesn't know how capable their entire unit is. Haha, we'll wait here. Because this place is actually not far from our barracks, send a message back and ask the large army to drive a few experts. If he dares to chase, then the entire army must be prepared to be trapped here. Yes, sir, he is indeed very experienced. We are waiting here to set up a battle, rather than flee. With the combat effectiveness of their army, it is impossible to easily determine the outcome with us. As long as we are not eliminated quickly, if our strong army arrives in a while, it will be their death. In this enemy army, every galaxy-level powerhouse is full of confidence. They fled just now because there was no need for a life-and-death battle, and they didn't expect that there would be a strong man in that small army who could compete with the top of the mid-level combat-type galaxy. But now, if the enemy still dares to pursue them in the hinterland, then they are well prepared. Several weapons against the enemy have not fully demonstrated their style just now. Now they can be prepared. In the next battle, even if they cannot kill the enemy, they can create an astonishing combat advantage for their side. In this way, they will no longer have the previous result of fighting life and death, which was just a small victory. Get ready for me. It was just a small victory just now. This time, we are going to annihilate all the troops of the Master family, turn the small victory into a big victory, and strengthen our military morale. Yes. Definitely a great victory. A group of enemy troops began to prepare. At the same time, Jia Yan and his troops also knew that their information had been learned by the enemy. After all, in such a plain land, a large group of their military vehicles flying in the sky can be seen by a discerning person, so how can they hide it? Jia Yan and the others did not turn on the invisibility ability. Although the military vehicles have this ability, it also involves electronic warfare and the like. They are just a partial division and have just arrived. They have no terrain advantage. Instead of launching electronic warfare, it is better to directly, if you can't catch up, you can quickly evacuate before the enemy arrives. Master Jia Yan, the enemy must already know that we are chasing them. If they just run away, it will be difficult for us to pursue them. Your Excellency, we must set a boundary. Otherwise, if we pursue too much, our army will definitely be in trouble. 150 kilometers, only pursue 150 kilometers. If we haven't caught up after 150 kilometers, then we will leave, because the enemy's base camp is nearby, and it will be too late if we don't leave. It would be great if you have such awareness. I'm afraid that you will become a little hot-headed after chasing after me. Am I, Jia Yan, such a person? Well, don't worry, I, Jia Yan, have also experienced many battles in the outside world. Although I am young, I will not do stupid things. Yes. In the chariot team of the Master's power, Jia Yan calmed down several galaxy-level inquiries, and then, the chariot formation became more stable and faster. Not long after, the enemy troops were discovered on the exploration radar of the military vehicle team here. In front, sir, some of them have activated some invisible war equipment. It's best for our military vehicles not to get close. Are we going to fight them in strongman battle mode? Well, let's grab it with both hands. Let's give them some appetizers with artillery fire first, and then our Galaxy class will attack them, followed by the follow-up units. Hurry up. Yes. Puff puff. As soon as he saw the enemy's shadow, Jia Yan concluded that these were not troops from the enemy's base camp, so he issued an order to fire directly. This is called decisiveness. Sometimes, such decisiveness is needed in war. Jia Yan is a decisive person. In addition, in the past space battles on alien planets, he has seen too many codes of conduct for soldiers and generals. They all mention the word decisiveness. Anyway, he already has the innate ability of subspace, so it doesn't matter even if he loses, at least he can escape in a decisive battle. Seems a bit unkind? Jia Yan doesn't care so much. Here we come. Expand your weapons. Defense cover. The enemy general made a very accurate judgment. He used artillery fire to fight us first. We are a light force and our firepower is not as strong as theirs. Don't worry, our weapons against strong men are not prone to problems. We will wait until their strong men get close to them, and use a defensive shield to hold them off for a while. Boom boom boom. An instant later, inside the enemy camp, bursts of artillery fire rumbled across the mountains. The power of the artillery fire turned the entire mountain top into ruins like a plow. The plain terrain was twisted into a hilly feeling. This is the artillery fire in the North Star that can cause great damage in the North Star. What a powerful artillery fire! If it were released to the outside world, its power would probably be enough to damage an asteroid. Jia Yan looked at the artillery fire fired from his tank with a surprised look on his face. It is a pity that the artillery fire in the North Giant is powerful, but it is impossible to bring it out to the outside world. As mentioned before, everything in the North Giant is compressed, and has a certain energy ratio, non-biological. When things go out, they will expand and decompose. Just like the ice and snow ores that Jia Yan brought in the land of ice and snow, they will gradually lose energy when brought to the outside world. The weapons in the North Star will be useless when brought to the outside world because the material will self-decompose, and they will be useless once they are taken out. Big things will explode directly, killing even a galaxy-level powerhouse. Therefore, From ancient times to the present, North Star and the powerhouses who come to North Star have never heard of anyone bringing weapons from North Star for normal use outside. After a wave of artillery fire, the enemy's side also destroyed several weapons and equipment, but the main body was still there. There's no need to fire any more cannons. The chariots are sweeping aside. I'll wait for the strong ones to go over and kill them directly. Yes. Jia Yan stopped the continued artillery attack. As mentioned before, a strong person is a strong person. Ordinary weapons are only auxiliary and help. They look very powerful. However, because these weapons do not cause damage to the strong body of a strong person, they do not do much damage. Lian Hong, even mid-level generals with a star rating are difficult to kill with just a few hits. The enemy's base camp was nearby, and Jia Yan didn't want to keep attacking like this and then evacuate before the reinforcements from the enemy's base camp arrived, or simply be caught off guard by their reinforcements. Although he could escape, wouldn't it be a worse loss? What he wants is a big victory to reverse the defeat. So all of a sudden, all the powerful teams came out. All those above the stellar level will go out to fight, and the rest will take up arms and join forces to stop or assist from the side. Jia Yan ordered again, then took the lead and flew up from a chariot first. Coming. It's this guy. If we join forces, can't we resist him? At this end, the strong commander who was injured by Jia Yan's blow, and several other strong men at the middle level of the galaxy. Although they were not at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, they were not afraid and flew into the sky one by one. And started a deadly battle with Jia Yan. This is war, and it is not like a normal battle between strong men. Seeing that the enemy's level is higher than yours, you become afraid and choose to run away. Instead, we work together. Even if we encounter a strong person, in many cases as long as we cooperate well and use army tactics, we still have a good chance of killing him. Moreover, on their side, there was also an injured mid-level peak of the galaxy. This strong man was able to withstand Jia Yan's attack. Oh? Have you all come together? Haha, this is really convenient for me. Jia Yan suddenly smiled when he saw that there were actually 4 strong men coming to meet him. He smiled happily, not because he thought that his close combat ability could possibly defeat this group of strong men. In fact, Jia Yan also knew that if he only showed the kind of fighting strength he just showed, he would probably be invincible. This group of strong military men judged the fighting strength very accurately. They knew that such 4 strong men would besiege and kill Jia Yan. The level of strength that IWA showed just now is more than enough. As for the other strong ones, they are still enough to withstand the Galaxy class on their side, plus the combat weapons underneath that are aimed at the strong ones. Maybe in this battle, their side will lose. And the battle is likely not to end in a situation where they will only win or lose, because the enemy in front of them is willing to stop and fight, which means that they are confident. If they do not lose much combat power, to win this battle. The most likely possibility is that they have already notified their base camp not far away and asked the base camp to send people to assist. If a group of strong men really come, let alone others, it will be difficult for Jia Yan to escape. Great tactics and judgment. But Jia Yan smiled, still smiling happily. The feeling of smile on his mosquito-like face can be felt by outsiders. How can I describe it? Just disgusting. A mosquito smiles, how beautiful it can be, right? In short, Jia Yan smiled so much that the strong men who met him were all baffled. High-speed text hand typing chapter list of rebirth of the giant mosquito in the starry sky. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2254. After he finished laughing, small gaps opened next to Jia Yan. In the twisted gap space, white objects suddenly emerged one after another. What's this? I seem to have heard that in the ice and snow land of the Master's power, There is someone who controls explosive objects, and this explosive object is extremely powerful. Could it be this person? Not good. Pure white explosives were thrown out of the air one by one, and suddenly flew towards a group of enemy figures in the distance. Yes, this is Jia Yan's specialty, and it is also the reason why Jia Yan dares to lead a group of his subordinates here to pursue the enemy. Anyway, it has been known for a long time that he possesses positive and negative explosives, so isn't it normal for him to announce his arrival with such a battle? Whizzing. These explosives are faster than Jia Yan and the others, because this time they are directly transmitted from inside the subspace. Jia Yan's subspace was not possible before, but now it can be used in the subspace just like outer space. A jet space is created inside, causing these explosives to explode inside the channel. The rate of fire reaches a speed that is almost impossible for ordinary creatures to escape. Puff. The first one, the enemy leader who was a peak mid-level star in the galaxy who had fought with Jia Yan, was hit by a pure white ice and snow stone without any surprise at all. His body exploded, he couldn't even speak, and he died immediately. Varied. There was a strong man beside him, who was about to be frightened, but his body suddenly exploded at the same moment. Then there were streaks of pure white ice and snow ore, just like the era of technological weapons had begun in the North Star. They fired shot after shot, killing the powerful enemy soldiers below. You must know that this is already another war after Jia Yan's subspace ability has greatly increased. After using more powerful moves again, Jia Yan's move may not be able to avoid even the ordinary combat-type galaxy intermediate peak. Open the key point. Not to mention that among the current group of enemies, there is not even a single combat-type galaxy mid-level peak powerhouse. Very good. The effect is very good. In the sky, Jia Yan saw the extremely powerful white ice and snow stones he shot, killing one by one, and he suddenly felt excited. The enemy's main strongman is dead. Follow me down quickly to kill the remaining ones. Yes. A large group of powerful beings from our own side fell from the sky one after another, and every expression was filled with joy. Just now, they felt a little worried, thinking that they were about to face a tough battle. Unexpectedly, His Excellency Jia Yan is indeed a strong man who stole the show on the battlefield of Ice and Snow City. Now he comes to this second battlefield. It seems that in order to make up for his poor performance in the previous battlefield, he used an unprecedented skill as soon as he appeared. The trump card that had been shown was that after a dozen of those explosive stones and lightning flints were shot out, the enemy army suffered heavy casualties, including more than half of the galaxy-level masters. In this case, what are they afraid of? Just kill and that's it? When there are more people on our side, there is nothing to be afraid of. If the two of them can't defeat the enemy together, then they, the strong ones who control the power, will not have to live. Die. Jia Yan took the lead, and even the strongest leader of the enemy army who barely resisted Jia Yan's attacks was killed. Then he was basically invincible, and no one could stop him even in close combat. Puff. A strong man in the middle level of the galaxy had no time to escape and was assassinated by Jia Yan on the spot in an instant. However, the enemy also has certain characteristics, that is, they have good weapon systems. When Jia Yan killed a strong enemy, a powerful artillery fire from the ground troops was fired at him. The speed is only about 1/3 slower than the ice and snow explosives Jia Yan just shot. At this speed, Jia Yan had a hard time hiding. Of course, it's just difficult, but it's not impossible to avoid it. Tom. As soon as the gunfire rang out, Jia Yan left the place instantly. Then, there was an explosion on his wings, but the artillery fire did not damage the wings at all. It gave his wings a touch of darkness and made them blue, but there was no other effect. The level of the blue defense has also been improved. After all, I have absorbed a lot of ice and snow power. After neutralizing the previous scorching energy, the blue defense seems to have ushered in a new wave of new life. Jia Yan felt his azure defense, and his heart became even more joyful. At this time, his blue defense became the same as the previous blue defense. It became one of his trump cards. It was back moving and invincible because it was his own defense. It was not like an attack method that could be used by others. It is still possible to resist if you know it, but defense is defense. Even if someone knows that his defense is strong, it cannot be solved. Apart from finding ways to break the defense, what else can be done? Jia Yan's strength was undoubtedly demonstrated among this group of enemies whose strength had not reached the peak of the mid-level combat-type galaxy. And his most powerful place, in addition to his subspace talent, positive and negative power explosives, yin and yang dao, and blue defense, there is actually another place, that is, his evolved beast body, which is almost perfect and has strong recovery power. When the battle was less intense, he would recover his physical strength while fighting, as if he was still alive. He can fight for a long time against easy enemies. And dealing with beings of similar strength, that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Even if you face someone who is just a little stronger than Jia Yan, you can use your own physical strength and physical advantages to turn the tide of the battle bit by bit. And against a crushing powerhouse, as long as you are not killed from the beginning, then he can still persist in escaping, and maybe he will succeed in escaping. So at that moment, Jia Yan took the lead, entered the enemy, hit left and right, and fought in a circle. After he seemed to be injured, everyone discovered this characteristic of his: durable. And the endurance is long-lasting. Jia Yan did not take out his ice and snow explosives anymore, because this was his trump card and there were not many of them. Moreover, the current battle is almost certain to win. As long as there are no variables, he does not need to use more of his own methods. Although among the enemies, in addition to the strong ones, there are also many combat weapons, especially the means to deal with the strong, which are obviously very mature. But the problem is that each of their methods requires a strong person as the main force to help succeed. At that moment, all the strong men were dead. The enemy strong men attacked the sides of the weapons one by one. With one blow, the brainwave power passed by and the soldiers operating the weapons were all dead. What a ghost! So very quickly, the battle went from a slight resistance at the beginning to a one-sided crushing. Jia Yan's single presence had the effect of laying the foundation for Ding Ding in this army that was supposed to be of similar strength. With him around, the two sides became completely unequal in strength. This is the terrible thing about the existence of a strong man. Puff. When Jia Yan stabbed a foot into the body of the last entry-level warrior in the galaxy, causing him to die, he raised his eyes and looked around. Very good, the battle is almost coming to an end. All the weak soldiers behind, come here and move their weapons away. Presumably at the beginning of the war, we don't know much about the enemy's weapons and equipment. This is also a kind of credit. Jia Yan ordered to go down, and immediately the soldiers on the tank flew out one by one to snatch the enemy's weapons and equipment. As for the remaining enemy forces without galaxy-level beings, no matter how they still have the ability to stop them, they have all become the objects of the galaxy-level beings who control the forces to compete for credit, and it is too late to escape. However, not many could escape, and every soldier was reduced to a target that could be quickly killed. After all, the two sides now have a strong galaxy level, and the other side does not have a strong galaxy level. The gap in strength is too big. 15 minutes after the battle started, it was roughly coming to an end. Quick, I already feel the strong enemy coming, let's evacuate. All that was left on the entire battlefield was the scene of soldiers carrying supplies, and the enemy troops had long been dead and wounded. Jia Yan suddenly looked at the horizon, no longer caring about the many weapons that had not been moved, and quickly ordered the army to leave. He would not think about fighting the enemy's reinforcements again, because anyone with a discerning eye knew that the reinforcements that dared to come at this time must be extremely powerful, and they might even have a territory lord. If the territory lord comes, even he won't be able to escape. Therefore, it is better not to wait now. Waiting for the enemy to come will be the ultimate joy and sorrow. None of the strong men and soldiers on our side had as strong a sense of perception as Jia Yan. They were startled and immediately did not dare to question Jia Yan. They quickly gave up what they were still carrying and fled towards the direction of the chariot. Not long after, the chariots took off one by one and then fled quickly. No one doubted whether Jia Yan's perception was wrong. After all, his strength and fighting ability were right here, no one dared to doubt it. Moreover, if possible, would Jia Yan give up his military exploits? That is impossible. So Jia Yan must have really felt something. Boom boom boom. When Jia Yan and his group of soldiers left quickly in a chariot, and the chariot started running at full speed, they left here at an extremely fast speed. There was an earth-shattering sound of breaking waves, flying over from a distance. This is a powerful man like a whale. Damn it, they're all dead. Which enemy force did it? Could it be the troop they attacked just as the intelligence said? But the attack was successful, so the combat effectiveness of that troop shouldn't be that strong. After catching up, they were able to kill the troop so quickly. A force? No. This force must be a cover, the purpose is to demonstrate against us. This whale-like strong man looked extremely ugly. He and himself figured it out. After all, if this were not the case, there would be no way to explain it. If that unit wasn't pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger, then why didn't we kill the sneak attack unit during the previous battle? Instead, we placed it near their base camp and then started to pursue and kill it with one hand. This is a demonstration and a statement. In the power of the Master, a very terrifying army has come. Open the record box of this unit for me and collect the nearby soldiers who successfully escaped. I want to ask which enemy's strong man is leading this unit. Could it be the famous generals I am familiar with? Humph. The strong whale man had an ugly expression, and he was very dissatisfied with the enemy general who had killed so many soldiers on their side right under his nose. He would hold a grudge against those beings who would not give him face and would slap him in the face. If he knows the name and sees it on the battlefield in the future, even if it is a domain lord, he will go up and fight with 2 moves, otherwise it will be difficult to relieve his anger. Huh? Jia Yan? I don't know, who is this? Oh, a few days ago, friendly forces attacked the land of ice and snow, and then suddenly appeared a combat-type mid-level peak warrior from the galaxy. A mere mid-level galaxy peak dared to underestimate me. Very good, very good. He succeeded in irritating me. This whale existence is actually a domain lord level powerhouse. But now, this domain lord level powerhouse is very angry with Jia Yan. I wonder if he will take any special action against Jia Yan when we meet again on the battlefield in the future. However, for the territory lord, if he is not the territory lord, he is a small role. Even a combat-type mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy can only be killed with a few more moves. So after he knew that his enemy was a peak mid-level star from the galaxy, he wasn't that concerned and just turned around and flew back. This battle is just one of the many small battles in the entire battlefield. He will not ignore the overall situation and chase the fleeing Jia Yan troops ahead, because the Master's forces may take advantage of this opportunity. Attack other fronts, or maybe this is just a scam. If he chases out and is surrounded and killed by several major domain lords, then the problem will be big. So he won't attack easily. I just wrote down the name Jia Yan. If there is an opportunity in the future, this strong man will surely give Jia Yan a profound education. Buzz buzz. It seems that the enemy's strong men are not chasing them. This is in line with the operating principles of the war zone. After all, it is not a one-on-one battle between strong men. If they are easily pursued, it is not called a war. After Jia Yan sensed that there was no aura of strong men behind him, he immediately let out a sigh of relief, knowing that he was no longer in danger. Just the breath just now made his hair stand on end. That was probably not a mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy, but a domain lord. Don't ask why Jia Yan can sense so far away. The question is that Jia Yan has been promoted recently. Moreover, when the territory lord came, he thought that the battle was still going on. The strong person during the battle did not have that strong sense of distance, so he did not hide his aura very much, and flew with all his strength, preparing to hurry up. Close to the battlefield. High-speed text hand-typing chapter list of rebirth of the giant mosquito in the starry sky. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2255. So it was only natural that Jia Yan could sense it earlier. I met a territory lord casually. It seems that there are indeed many powerful people on the battlefield of this North Star. Next, I have to make good preparations for the subspace. Jia Yan secretly calculated that after the territory lord was discovered by him just now, he would have about a minute on his side. Looking at it this way, if a territory lord deliberately did not let himself know and came with a concealed figure, then the time given to Jia Yan is estimated to be about 3 seconds, after all, he is the domain master. But given 3 seconds, it was enough. 1 second he tore open the subspace, the next second he entered, and the third second, Jia Yan was already far away. Thinking about it this way, he felt a lot more relieved. 2 days later. Welcome, Your Excellency Jia Yan. Is this Your Excellency Jia Yan? A great master who has made a contribution before he even arrives on the battlefield. It's indeed extraordinary. I didn't believe Your Excellency's rumors before. Now that I see it, I really thought too much. In the place where the military camp of a master army is located, a large number of strong soldiers are waiting in the military camp. When they saw Jia Yan himself flying out of a military vehicle, these powerful officers and soldiers were all impressed by Jia Yan's appearance. In fact, I am not impressed by the appearance, but by the ability of this previously unknown and powerful man. As soon as I received the news of battlefield support, I was attacked by the enemy on the way. I was able to make a beautiful comeback, and the enemy force that attacked was almost completely annihilated. The result of this battle can be said to have given Jia Yan an extremely amazing business card, which made many strong men in this battlefield fall in love with Jia Yan's business card. Jia Yan had gained fame before, but he didn't have many achievements. Many people in the master's power, especially those in the military, still didn't think Jia Yan was very powerful. Even if Jia Yan's personal combat effectiveness is guaranteed, he can lead troops to fight. How can the military personnel think that a person with little reputation can fight? They were not convinced at all. But now, Jia Yan, a person who was not taken seriously by others, actually fought a battle without even arriving on the battlefield when he was anxious on the battlefield, and he still won the battle. In this way, these troops, the biological powerhouses, all changed their views on Jia Yan. This is Jia Yan's most direct and pure form of submission. It's too simple. Haha, hello, colleagues, I am just a temporary commander. To be able to win this battle depends on the support of other soldiers, otherwise I will not be able to fight this battle alone. Jia Yan smiled slightly and greeted the group of soldiers who greeted him. No one knows him, so he feels friendly to everyone. Not long after, Jia Yan, led by a galaxy-level being, went to the headquarters building of this large-scale military camp. Of course, the military camp in the North Star will not be as simple as the original military camp on Earth. Once the military vehicles are opened, especially the tent-shaped military vehicles, they can accommodate a large number of soldiers. Some of the military vehicles can even be turned into the tall buildings were filled with soldiers, and many merchants followed and established various trading shops. The headquarters office where Jia Yan arrived was as luxurious as a hotel. For extraterrestrial creatures, they don't pay much attention to clean governance at all, because this is not considered enjoyment. After all, everyone lives under high technology. Isn't it normal to build a good living and food condition? Scene, sir. Jia Yan saw a tall creature like a tree, with weeds even growing on its head. It looked slow. But despite this creature's appearance, it exuded a very terrifying feeling. Considering his status, Jia Yan suspected that this creature was a territory lord. However, Jia Yan is not too afraid of the presence of the territory lord, who is also one of his own at this time. Well, Jia Yan, right? I have read your information and I feel that you will be a good commander. But I didn't expect that. I just applied for you to come here, and you made a contribution to me on the way. This you must be rewarded. The tree man-like creature smiled faintly and could see through Jia Yan's feelings at a glance. Then, he took out a list of reward notifications. Jia Yan looked at it and saw that his own rewards and the rewards of his subordinates were written in it, and then he nodded seemingly gratefully. Thank you, sir. I wonder how my deployment is planned. After Jia Yan asked such a question, the other party smiled again. Since you have the ability to lead and can win the battle, then you can continue to lead your army. I believe that a talent like you will be able to. It is not a good choice to work under others, but I hope you can continue to maintain it. If I find that your abilities are not in line with your current ones, I will still put you in other positions. Do you understand what I mean? I understand, sir. I will continue to work hard. Jia Yan didn't understand what he said. He can remain in the Ice and Snow City troops he led and still serve as the commander, but if he does not do well, he will be transferred. After saying hello, Jia Yan returned to the station where he led the Ice and Snow City support troops, and brought the list of rewards and reward items given by the tree creatures to his subordinates. Among those soldier subordinates, the ordinary Jia Yan doesn't care, but he wants to grasp the Galaxy class. After all, in the North Star, the existence of the Galaxy class will not be the flowers and plants on the roadside. Generally speaking, to ordinary creatures, Galaxy-level beings are simply gods in heaven and earth. Therefore, Jia Yan used the rewards given to them to win over some people's hearts. Moreover, Jia Yan actually won the battle. Under such circumstances, Jia Yan was able to lead everyone to a comeback. The confidence in his subordinates and their trust in Jia Yan were great. Increase. As long as you follow this commander, you may be able to win another battle in the future, and then return home with military exploits. Most of the strong men or soldiers in this army came to fight because of military service. Otherwise, who would come to fight casually? Of course, in the North Star, the reasons and factors for fighting are many and complex, such as wanting to strengthen oneself in battle. There are even most soldiers or strong men who are quite conflicted about joining the battle. On the one hand, they want to become stronger and have a higher status, but on the other hand, they feel very dangerous. The more this happens, the more confused you are, the more likely you will die. Everyone will work hard in the future. I believe we will all make great achievements and return to our hometown. Let's work hard. Jia Yan only brought a few hundred people, so he was quite confident in leading such a small number of subordinates. It just so happened that these subordinates also became very proactive because they had military exploits with him, which also facilitated his leadership. In the next few days, because they had just arrived, they had no combat missions. Even in this military camp, it was like coming to a simple city. They could go out to play on the streets at night, which made Jia Yan a little confused. Fortunately, the war is still coming. Just when Jia Yan took advantage of the lull in the fighting, he transformed more of his ice and snow stones and quickly built a large number of ice and snow explosives to cope with the possible more intense battles. A piece of news came from the front line. It made him nervous. Because the front line was defeated. In fact, the combat effectiveness of this group army on the plain terrain was smaller than that of the enemy troops coming to fight. However, no one expected that the battlefield with the support of 2 domain lords on the front line would be so fast. It was defeated. I heard that the enemy had only 2 domain lords at the beginning, but later on, inexplicably, it increased to 4 domain lords. Moreover, this was a coalition of 2 neighboring forces. It caught us off guard. As a result, we were defeated. The army was already in disintegration. They will probably retreat to our military camp area soon. Every soldier in the base camp had private information about the source of the information, and it was impossible to conceal such information. As a result, everyone learned about this information, even Jia Yan was no exception. The entire army of several hundred people on his side became nervous, including Jia Yan, and started a battle plan overnight. Master Jia Yan, in my opinion, our troops should be prepared with both hands, because this military camp is in the plains and there are many local soldiers. They should fight to the death. But we are different. We are troops from ice and snow areas. There is no reason. Just like them, so we can fight guerrilla warfare, such as the terrain here, or terrain like this. A galaxy-level being stood next to Jia Yan, opened the holographic screen on Jia Yan's brain, clicked on the analysis of the results of the battle, etc., and also gave a very exciting analysis. Not bad, very good. Jia Yan nodded his head. In fact, compared to others, he, a creature who had just arrived in North Star, didn't really know much about the internal battles and fighting methods in North Star. Therefore, most of the conclusions they made were based on Jia Yan's feelings. Especially good. However, other strong men in this team have different views. Another galaxy-level being stood up and refuted the previous strong man's plan. Master Jia Yan, I think this is not possible. Our army does not know much about the local battlefields and battle conditions, or even the habits of plain warfare, so I feel that we should follow our base camp troops. After all, this is also the largest base camp in the plain war zone. Even if the enemy has 4 major domain lords, it is difficult to say that they can defeat this base camp in an instant. In our North Star, war is not about the presence of more domain lords. In such a battle, even the domain lord may be killed by the human sea tactic. Although we are at a disadvantage in terms of numbers, our base camp occupies a favorable location and has a defensive formation. If we fight several small battles, we will be able to defeat this army. It is not impossible to completely defeat the invading enemy forces. What this strong man said was very reasonable. For a moment, Jia Yan also nodded a little. Sir, please come to your final conclusion. No matter which one you choose, we will listen to you. The 2 strong men turned their heads, ready to hear Jia Yan's final decision. The 2 of them didn't want to quarrel. After all, they were all comrades in arms, and they didn't have any bad relations before. They just had different understandings of this battle and their choices. Well, Jia Yan was slightly startled, feeling like he didn't know what decision to make. To be honest, he was at a loss as well. One option is to run out of the base camp and engage in guerrilla warfare with the enemy. Although it seems safer, there is the risk of the enemy grabbing the tail and swallowing it whole. The other one is to follow the base camp, just like going with the flow, and keep fighting. If the army at the base camp loses, then they will be finished together, and the possibility of losing is still very high. After all, there are 4 major domain lords in the enemy army, and their combat power is there is more to life than here, and no matter how you look at it, you don't look like you will win. Jia Yan is in a dilemma, but he is the leader and commander of this small team, and everyone is waiting for his final decision. Let me see. Jia Yan pondered for a while. Combining his own abilities with those in the army, he began to think about how to fight this battle so that it would be more advantageous and safer. First of all, I have to consider my own safety. If I am in a large and chaotic battlefield, I may be killed by a passing domain lord with one blow. Even if I can't defend myself, I won't be able to use the secondary space. But if it is a guerrilla warfare battlefield, then I can use the subspace to escape first when I see the enemy domain master chasing me from a distance. As for my subordinates, I can't control that much at all. For this reason alone, Jia Yan was already leaning towards guerrilla tactics. There are other benefits after that. For example, it is true that their army is not familiar with plain warfare, but because they are not familiar with it, they may not be able to cooperate well with our army. In this case, it is better to go out alone to fight guerrillas. In addition, there is the issue of Jia Yan's advantage. His front and back explosives are not easy to use in a large-scale battle between the enemy and ourselves. We must consider our safety issues. If the military personnel on the other side are relatively small, wouldn't there be no such problem? I have made a decision, let's fight guerrilla warfare. Only in this way can we maximize the combat effectiveness of our army. I will report it to you later. I think it will be approved. Jia Yan made a decision. The two subordinates below, who had been a bit quarrelsome just now, looked at each other. The one who had Jia Yan's support was not proud, and the one who did not get Jia Yan's consent was not angry. Both parties were old warriors. For such a thing, that's all. It's just an opinion, and both of their opinions are quite correct, so no one loses. It's just that Jia Yan is more inclined to guerrilla warfare. What's more, after thinking about it, guerrilla warfare is indeed what Jia Yan said, and it is more suitable for their foreign troops. There are a lot of things going on during the Chinese New Year, so we may stop once or twice in these 2 days. I hope everyone can understand. Let me say it in advance, Happy New Year. High-speed text hand typing chapter list of rebirth of the giant mosquito in the starry sky. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2256. Happy New Year. This is already the 5th Happy New Year in this book. 5 years, 1/20th of my life. It's great to have you by my side all the way. I hope that I can continue to have your company in the future, and I hope that everyone can live well in the future. It's getting better and better, thank you, all my book friends. Okay, let's prepare for war. If the application is approved, we will start implementing the combat strategy. Yes. A group of subordinates began to retreat one by one, and then they all went to carry out Jia Yan's mission. But Jia Yan has opened his brain. On this North Star, if he wants to apply for a mission or something, it is very simple. He only needs to use the military's communication method to apply to the superior department. Everyone uses it to keep it extremely confidential. Channel, there will be no problem of intelligence leakage. Huh? Does Jia Yan want to apply to go out to fight guerrilla warfare? In the command room of this large army, the tree-like senior military officer hesitated when he saw Jia Yan's application. Then, he nodded and clicked on the approval content. As Jia Yan explained in his application, their foreign troops were small in number and not used to fighting in this plane, so they had no choice but to let them go. As for guerrilla warfare, Jia Yan's performance in the previous battle must not disappoint them. And there are only a few hundred people, which is too small compared to the tens of thousands of troops in this base camp. Whether they win or not, it doesn't matter at all. So he immediately agreed to Jia Yan's application. I just don't know if Jia Yan will give everyone another surprise. Not many people are paying attention to what Jia Yan is doing. In fact, although he had a good battle result before, it was considered a small victory, but for a confrontation with tens of thousands of troops, his side was the arrival of the army, and the small victory did not have much impact at all. So when the enemy forces from the two major forces came together, few of the large number of soldiers from the master forces discovered that the ice and snow area combat team led by Jia Yan had left the military camp and turned to guerrilla warfare. Policy. Front warfare is the most difficult and dangerous method of warfare in the plains. Unlike other areas, during position warfare, there are not many bunkers in the plains, and there are not many targets to target the enemy, so the brutality of the battle is extremely unimaginable. Everyone. You must be considerate of our friendly forces and help them relieve the pressure when fighting on the sidelines. Do you understand? Understood. Hundreds of kilometers away from the master's base camp, a troop with all its members on chariots is flying leisurely in the air, and is well equipped for radar and other detection. As long as there is any sign of trouble, they will leave immediately. The local look. Jia Yan was delivering impassioned conversations to his subordinates. It was said to be a lecture, but in fact everyone knew that it was just a formality. Because Jia Yan's approach already represents some of his views, which is to leave the battlefield as much as possible. Life-saving is the first priority, and then the battle plan. For the soldiers from the land of ice and snow, the war in the plain area does not mean that they must risk their lives to resist the enemy. Although if the plain area is defeated, the ice and snow area will definitely not be protected, but it does not mean that they are willing to throw their lives and blood here. Therefore, Jia Yan's actions were consistent with these soldiers. Even if he said something contrary to his behavior, no one thought that Jia Yan had done something wrong. There were white clouds floating in the sky, accompanying these chariots. The terrain of the entire plain area was like an endless mirror, completely flat. It was precisely because of this terrain that wars broke out. Neither side has a favorable terrain bunker, so they will all fall into a very difficult battle. Okay, you continue to be on guard. If you have any information, tell me in time. I will continue patrolling, and maintain communication with the base camp. If there is a fight on their side, we can take action anytime and anywhere according to the situation. Yes. Jia Yan's act according to the situation actually means whether they should escape or not, depending on the situation. However, no one has debunked this theory. It didn't take long for the war to break out. It was a war between tens of thousands of troops from both sides. For the entire master force, or for the entire North Star, this is like a shallow splash, maybe not even a splash. But for this vast plain area, it is a decisive battle that determines the ownership or safety of this plain area, which is related to the life and death of hundreds of millions of lives. It still attracts quite a lot of attention. The enemy's invasion did not have the slightest strategy, because on the plains, these tricks have no effect. They just outflanked them in two ways. A large number of scouts who controlled the power had already been along the way. Their routes and methods of travel were reported back, so for both sides, this was just a war that everyone could easily see clearly. But no one knows how large the reconnaissance troops of both sides will be outside the main force, and whether there will be a possibility of secretly crossing Chenkang. These constitute some uncertainty in the fair and open battle between the two sides. Factors are still very likely to have a big impact. Theoretically speaking, Jia Yan's troops were one of the troops secretly crossing Chenkang. Sir, there is a message from the base camp, saying that the enemy's main force is invading. How many people are there in the enemy's army? And roughly how many strong men there are? Have the two sides started fighting? After Jia Yan heard the news, his expression changed, and he quickly asked. Sir, the enemy troops are divided into two major forces. There are about 50,000 people in total. Among them, there are 4 known territory lords. There are also about 10 other combat-type galaxy mid-level peak soldiers. The total number of experts from the peak of the intermediate galaxy, and the elementary level of the galaxy is more than 300, and the entire army is composed of experts from the heaven level and above, and they are very powerful. After listening to the intelligence soldier's report, Jia Yan knew that this war would definitely be lost. Because he has been in the base camp for a while, Jia Yan understands very well that in this base camp of the Master's power, apart from other things, the strength of the Master and the strength of the Master are far behind. This is reality. It's exactly what I expected. Jia Yan sighed helplessly. I already knew this was the outcome, but now that I heard the news, it was still a bit of a pity. Although the war in the starry sky is actually greatly affected by the strategies and tactics of war, it is actually much more difficult to defeat the many with the few and the strong with the weak, like in ancient times on Earth. For example, this time, as far as Jia Yan knows, there is only one territory master in the Master's power, that is, the tree man-like strong man. Even if there is another one hidden, the number is still a bit lacking. Under such circumstances, how can your tree man powerhouse defeat the enemies for great domain lords? It's no use risking his life. No matter how powerful the strategy is, it will be useless under absolute strength. Be prepared. If there is any problem on our side, we are always ready to provide support. Of course, if we really can't resist it and nothing can be done, we will retreat immediately to conserve our strength for the next war. Completely prepared. Yes. What everyone wanted to hear most was probably the second half of the sentence. Knowing that Jia Yan was preparing to retreat, they breathed a sigh of relief. The news that Jia Yan's chariot unit is here is actually very hidden, but for some reason, the communicator received news that the war was starting from the front line. At the same time, Jia Yan's small unit's scouts communicated in the channel, there was news of seeing the enemy's shadow. Sir Jia Yan, we discovered the enemy's traces, they came directly towards our troops. After the scout told the information, there was a scream, which was obviously very dangerous. Huh? There are actually enemy troops coming to our side? Jia Yan was startled for a moment, put down the leisurely practice of transforming ice and snow explosive stones, and quickly got down to the command chair. His exclusive military vehicle was, to put it bluntly, a huge house. The command chair was less than a few meters away from the soundproof room where he practiced, and he entered and exited at extremely fast speeds. Sir, the enemy came too fast. We immediately turned around and accelerated and had no time to escape their pursuit. You see now. A soldier who served as Jia Yan's deputy also looked extremely ugly and asked Jia Yan for advice. I need general information about the enemy, concisely and concisely. Jia Yan said calmly without any worry. He had his own means of saving his life. Even if the territory lord came in person, he felt that he had a chance to escape, so he did not have the slightest fear. Of course, the other soldiers didn't know what Jia Yan was thinking. They just felt that this leader was quite magnanimous and not afraid of danger. What's more, they were attacked by a sneak attack before and won the battle. In addition, when Jia Yan was in the land of ice and snow city, he entered the battlefield dominated by the domain lord alone and rescued the little princess of the lord's power. Several rumors were added up. They suddenly felt more confident because of Jia Yan. Sir, this incoming army has 100 chariots. In terms of pure numbers, it will be about twice as many as us. But we don't know much about the strong ones. If they are facing us, coming here means that they already know about us, and presumably with the number of strong people, it is still possible to develop ours. Well, don't worry. Since we can't escape, we will set up a formation, install the weapons we captured last time, and then prepare for a full counterattack. After Jia Yan thought for a while, he made his best judgment. Yes. The subordinates started to get busy one by one. Because within the North Star, the speed of communication is not slow, but the speed of powerful people and vehicles is not that fast, so when the enemy is seen, there is still a lot of time to operate slowly. When the enemy's shadow finally appeared on the horizon, riding on white clouds, Jia Yan's side had prepared their weapons and formations. An instant later, Jia Yan appeared in the sky. As a strong man, it is impossible for him to hide in the chariot and use the weapons of the chariot to fight. It is better for him to fight as a strong man, so that he can maximize his combat strength. Of course, there is another reason, that is, it is not convenient to use the subspace ability in the tank. It is better to go out to the outside world, see something wrong, directly use the subspace talent, and then run away. Coming. Jia Yanfu's eyes reflected countless enemy tanks. Then, before the chariot formation came in front of them, and as soon as they entered the firing range of both sides, the soldiers from the ice and snow area of the controlling force here launched a long-range strike first. Puff puff. A large amount of artillery fire was fired from here. The battle between tanks is actually quite boring, because everyone has a defensive shield. For a relatively long period of time, no one's defensive shield is broken, and there will be no life-threatening danger. So this is a battle. It's just a shooting game. But this is also dangerous. For example, if it hits some key defensive points, or if some strong person comes close to attack, it will be tragic. Of course, the existence of strong men makes the seemingly boring war have more variables and become more exciting. Jia Yan was one of the strong men who got off the car here, but after seeing the enemy's tank formation, he suddenly saw that there were several strong men inside the enemy's tank, one by one. The people filed out and came to the outside world. The territory lord should not exist. Which territory lord would give up the main battlefield to trouble a little shrimp like me? Jia Yan looked at the enemy army and saw all kinds of strange and powerful men inside, and he couldn't tell what kind of strength these strong men got off the chariot. He only knows that his enemies are just a few of these strong men, and his subordinates will also find people with similar strength to them to fight with, so there is no need to worry too much. Give me your life. Give me my brother's life. At this moment, when Jia Yan revealed his figure, the strong men who got off the chariot saw him one by one, as if they saw the enemy who killed his father, and suddenly rushed towards him. What happened? I have a grudge against you. Jia Yan was stunned. Even though he was a little confused, he was not a strong man who wanted to be killed in vain. Feeling the strength and murderous intent of these strong men, his face became solemn for a moment. Since you want to try my skills, come on. Jia Yan sneered and then made his own move. The positive and negative explosives that had been prepared for a long time, that is, things with super explosive power made of ice and snow stones, appeared one after another as if they were free. Then, his feet turned blue, and after tapping each other, they suddenly contained a lot of terrifying power. This is Jia Yan's strongest fighting state at the moment. Each mode is the most powerful fighting method he has tried after fighting for so long. Die. High-speed text hand typing chapter list of Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky.